256 through 265. And then Absolute's going to take us home with another smasher video.
Yeah, man, I put together a video honoring our troops that fought in World War II, specifically D-Day, seeing as how today is the anniversary of D-Day, and I set the song to Iron Maiden, "The Longest Day." It's one of my favorite videos I've ever made, and I'm really looking forward to sharing it with everybody this evening. Before we bring Kyle on and before we really get rolling with this thing, I'm going to go ahead and take our first ad break. So we'll be paying extra attention to our ad partners, folks. Make sure you shift your dollars toward them. It helps build this parallel economy we're trying to build. These folks support Badlands and keep us bringing you the great content you've come to love, and we appreciate all your love and all your support. So we'll be right back in a couple minutes, friends. Hello, friends. Have you always wanted to own your own night vision binoculars, but you didn't get them because of how pricey they are? Well, now you can grab them for under $200 from our amazing partner, TacRite. Similar night visions usually sell for over $4,000 once they're military grade. However, TacRite was able to make a revolutionary new night vision system. Military night vision requires at least some light to work. TacRite night vision binoculars let you see even in pitch darkness. Right now, Badlanders can get an amazing one-time discount. You can grab one today for under $200. You don't need a coupon code or anything. Just visit TacRiteBadlands.com. This would make a great gift for anyone that is interested in outdoors, hunting, military, or just wants to be able to feel safe at night. Grab yours today. This is a limited time offer. Get yours today at TacRiteBadlands.com. That's TacRiteBadlands.com. We want to welcome another new advertiser here at Badlands, NoBugsBeef.com. Let's face facts. America's supply chain is going to be increasingly disrupted in the coming months, which means it's not if we'll have a food shortage, it's when. Having enough protein to feed your family for several months is essential for your survival. That's why we've partnered with NoBugsBeef.com. They provide sous vide, freeze-dried, all-American beef from ranches in Texas that have never, ever given their cows an mRNA jab. The beef, stored in Mylar bags with oxygen absorbers for maximum shelf life, will stay shelf stable for more than 10 years without refrigeration and with maximum nutrition and flavor. All you need to do is soak it in water for 15 minutes and it's ready to eat. These are not your typical survival meals. They're premium cuts of ribeye, New York strip, tenderloins, sirloin, and chuck. Get your family ready for the chaos at nobugsbeef.com and use the promo code BADLANDS for an additional 10% off your order. That's nobugsbeef.com, promo code BADLANDS. And just a quick reminder to check out Badlands Marketplace on badlandsmedia.tv, where you'll find nobugsbeef.com and a growing number of America First businesses listed. Help build our parallel economy by shopping America First. Welcome back, friends, and we are happy to say we are now back up and running on Rumble, and we apologize for that. So welcome to our Rumble family over there. Hope you folks are having a fantastic evening, and since you missed our little intro, we got a very special guest this evening, the one, the only, Just Human Kyle. So let's go ahead and give a quick rundown of the shows he appears on before we bring him on. If you're unfamiliar, you can find Kyle on Sunday nights at 9 o'clock, I believe, over on Defected. He comes on, him and Burning Bright come on right after Nothing Can Stop What's Coming. He also does the Devolution Power Hour, and he has his own podcast every morning as well. You can follow him at Just Human on True Social. Joe, we've known this fellow a minute. He's a really good dude, one of my favorites. I'm glad to have him on the show this evening. So I think without wasting any more time, let's go ahead and get this guy in here.
Hey, what's
up, my friend? How are you doing this evening, sir?
I am doing well. It feels really weird to have my friends introduce me on a show like that. It's funny. It's funny to me. Thank y'all for having me. I love this show, and it's a privilege and a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, man. Good to see you. Why don't you give the audience just a high-level overview? Most of the people know who you are, but there's some that don't.
Yeah, I'm Just Human, also known as Kyle, and I'm just a regular researcher dude that I put out some articles on Substack occasionally, I thread occasionally, and I stream Monday, Wednesday, Friday mornings at 9:30 a.m. Although I have to say I'm on my summer schedule now with kids out, so things are a little less scheduled in that regard. I'm also on Badlands, and I do a show on the Sunday night, Defected with Burning Bright, and on Wednesday, Devolution Power Hour, also with Burning Bright, and then we let John Harold join us from time to time and give us some input. So I'm literally just a regular guy. I lost my career thanks to the lockdowns in 2020. and I was stuck at home like all of us were, and I was having to figure out what I would do from that point on, and I was digging into the news like so many of us were, and that really fed my research appetite that had kind of been buried for a while at my job, and I just kept going. And by trade, I'm a mechanic and a construction worker, and I put some of the skills I learned there, just as far as taking things apart and piecing them together. That's kind of how I approach the news cycle and information. And yeah, and that's what I do. And I go through articles. I love to dive deep into things because I think getting into the details is an excellent way to avoid swallowing black pills. And once you get to know things, you know, the details of them, and you educate yourself what is in the news, it not only do you inform yourself and have a better understanding of things, you develop a resistance to black pills. In my opinion,
Yeah,
I
man.
that's
agree.
really my goal. I went through a very bad black pill phase in my life. A lot of it had to do with the news and Romney and Obama, and I have a passion for helping pull people away from the jar of black pills, and to find a ball of white pills.
Dude, I think I was like peak black pill in 2012. Like, I was just like, man, I hope the Mayans are right. I hope all this just
Yeah,
ends. Screw it.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It was bad.
Yeah, it wasn't good.
And it did me no good. It did me no good. It didn't make me more informed. It didn't help my relationships. It didn't make me right about anything. It was just being negative, and it was easy to be negative about everything. And it was you get into a cycle of negativity. And I hate that. I want to break that. And I did break it for myself. I try to help others break theirs, by finding the good news that's out there.
I like it, man. I like it. I'm very much the same way. Like Thomas over on Nothing Can Stop What's Coming always kind of messes with me a little bit for being the eternal optimist and kind of always seeing the glass half full. But and Joe is very much the same way. I mean, we're always spitting
Mhm.
hope and reasons to believe on this show, not hopium. There's a big difference between hope and hopium, and
Right.
I'm really glad to be able to help people kind of find their way, just like you. It's awesome to be a part of, man. It really lets you realize that this whole thing is far bigger than any single person or entity within this movement.
Yes.
I think for me, I saw the 40,000 foot view pretty quickly. So that's helped me keep the course, and I feel like my role in the past 6 years is to stay that course and show people as much as I've been able to see and break it down in a logical way. And that's pretty much the feedback I get, is that I've been unwavering, and that gives others hope. But I'm not doing it to, just like Paul said, I'm not trying to be like a hopium dealer. I'm just saying, here's what I've seen. This is what the board shows, and these are the comms, and every
Yep.
single week it seems to line up. So I'm strapped in for the long haul. Stay in the course. Go Team Trump.
Likewise. Well said, man. Well said. Before we really got going, man, I think me and Joe each had a question or two for you, man. Joe, would you like to go first, sir?
Yeah, a lot of the people wanted to have you to break down exactly what you've been seeing from the Durham reports.
Okay. So on my show, I've been reading the Durham report page by page. We're on part 8 right now, and it's come out to about, like 12 plus hours of me reading the Durham report. It might be more like 16 hours of me reading the Durham report. But when it came out, I decided, and I told my audience, look, I'm going to read this thing on the show in about 2-hour installments, depending on how much time I have. We're going to go page by page, and we're going to find out what's in it for ourselves. And by the end of it, it'll take a long time, but by the end of it, we'll understand it, and we'll have the information. And as we've been doing that, I have been finding so much good stuff in it. I've been finding so much interesting stuff, and I've been finding some things that let me down. Um, my big takeaways from it is that Durham did refer people. He referred them to DOJ, and he referred them to the DOD IG. He referred them to Horowitz. He referred them to the general counsel of the DIA. Now, they're not the big flashy referrals we all wanted, but they're referrals that I think are important. The most important one by far, in my opinion, is he doesn't name him, but in the context and the information he gives it, it looks like Durham referred Rodney Joffe and two Georgia Tech researchers to Robert Storch at DODIG, who is someone else that's in the drops, by the way. I believe the drop says it goes like Huber, Durham, Storch. And what did Durham just do? He literally just handed off a segment of his investigation to Robert Storch. That's one of my biggest takeaways from it. Another one is that Durham has uncovered so much and put it on the record. And I think that something that gets lost because the way the news media is, there's the news media and there's all of us nerds that have been researching Durham and researching Spygate all these years and trying to figure out who did what and when, who knew what. And we've been trying to we're trying to figure out who was source D, who was source E, where did this meeting happen, who sent who knew what, and Durham put all of it on the record. And I feel like you really can't overemphasize the importance of having a special prosecutor gather up this vast conspiracy and this vast criminal scheme and putting it all into one report and making it part of the public's record and soon the congressional record when his testimony comes up. And it'll be referenced over and over again. If you're a news junkie, especially in regards to things that concern Durham, you know that the Senate Select Intelligence Committee report and their interviews, the House Intelligence Committee and their interviews, the Judiciary Committee and the Mueller report and IG Horowitz's report are referenced over and over and over again, whether it's in other news or hearings or it's in legislation or other investigations or in cases. They get referenced over and over again. I think the same is going to be true with the Durham report, where it's not going to be, it's published, it's a news story for a week or two, and then it's gone. I think it continues to pay dividends for years and years and years into the future. Another takeaway I have from it is that there's a classified index that he's going to be briefing Congress on June 20th. And then on June 21st is when he's going to have the public hearing and he'll be speaking. I'm really looking forward to what he has to say because I think he's going to be asked about his declination decisions, which are his decisions where he decided not to charge somebody. He gives his reasons for why he didn't charge someone. And of those reasons, the ones that really stand out to me is when he makes a comment like, we ultimately decided that to bring this evidence that we have to trial would be it wouldn't be easy to bring it to trial, or it wouldn't be likely we could bring this evidence to trial and get a conviction. And he seems to, in my opinion, he's alluding to some classified information. He says classified information in one of them. I can't remember if it was Christopher Steele maybe, or if it was Joffe, but he alludes to some classified information that he doesn't think he would be able to bring to trial. And I think that's a big tell from Durham that there's another classified investigation going on, that if he could bring that, he could get a conviction, but he knows he can't. So he's not even going to bring an indictment right now. He's going to let that other one proceed, and he's going to go as far as he can go without jeopardizing that other investigation.
Yeah, real quick. It's funny you say that because you mentioned 6/20, June 20th. That hits a Q Delta that says exactly that. It says Durham's not the only game in town. So that's interesting. We covered that last week, but that's awesome timing right there.
Yeah. The report, I personally expected more. I've been thinking Durham was going to drop either an interim report or he was going to drop some indictments, and the report would all be the stories about report coming would all be fake news. That's what I expected. That's what I wanted. I thought he would bring either a RICO indictment or possibly a large indictment against Joffe, the Georgia researchers, maybe some other people. He didn't. So I am disappointed. I share in a sense of disappointment because it's not what we wanted and it's not what we expected and hoped for. And I feel that. But at the same time, reading it page by page, I'm like, this is profound. And this is heavy stuff that is going to be useful in the future. I get the sense from reading it, this is the way it's supposed to be. It's not
Yeah.
what I want, but it's the way it's supposed to be. And then there were a number of things about it, finding corny in it, where there's Comey is spelled correctly one time, but every other time it's corny.
Right.
And I understand how images can get scanned into a PDF, and sometimes the scanner will mistake groupings of letters for things. I understand how that can happen.
No.
It's far too unusual in this document. It's far too unusual. And the fact that it's spelled correctly one time,
right,
but it's incorrect every other time is
56.
the tell that it's intentional.
Right.
Or else it would be every time.
And
So
Q gave us the heads up on that before. So it happened on the OIG report. So it's definitely on purpose.
Yep.
Yeah, 100%. Me and Kyle are both kind of on Team Comey is your homie, and I think one day we're both going to don that T-shirt. I think I've never necessarily stated that the dude is a white hat from the get-go or anything. All I've ever said is that there's a clear point at which he was kind of leveraged or brought over to fall in line and do what we told him to do, and I think we've seen that. It kind of your answer there kind of segues perfectly into my question for you, and that was going to be: I saw so many people on my channel and on the We the Media channel, and I get why they were asking it, but why wouldn't he subpoena James Comey or some of these people? Why didn't he interview these people? Some folks chose to take a black pill over that and say, well, he's covering for him if he didn't even interview him. The first thought off the top of my head was, well, you don't need to subpoena somebody if they're already helping you or you already have what they need from you. Before we came on the air, you kind of expounded on that a little bit and kind of went a little bit deeper into it. So would you mind giving your take on that, Kyle, and what you think may some of the reasons be that he didn't interview some of these people?
Yeah, so I'm sure he'll be asked this, and I'll defer to his answer when he tells Congress why, because I know he's going to be asked. But I think that part of it may be that he has all of Comey's other interviews with the House and Senate. He knows he has all of Mueller's interviews, all these other investigations that have been done. Durham has access to all of those interviews. So when he looks at the list of questions he would have for Comey, it could be that Comey has already answered those, maybe some of them in more than one place. And so he's like, well, I already got my answer from Comey. I can go off of here. I could ask him myself. And if he was trying to get Comey, maybe he would do that to try and trap Comey in a misstatement, or telling, but I think it's that he didn't really need to subpoena Comey because he didn't really need to talk to Comey. Part of me wonders, I already mentioned that other investigation. Part of me wonders if Comey has already interviewed with that other investigation that's going on. And so Durham doesn't need to interview him because he has access to that.
Right. Me and Joe brought that up. Sorry, go ahead, buddy.
One thing I do want to mention about the Durham report, and I don't think this is a excuse for everybody, and I don't think this is the reason, but one thing I mentioned before the show to you guys is that Durham does take time out at the very early on in the report to mention the effect that the COVID lockdowns and guidelines and everything, the effect it had on his investigation, that it basically slowed everything down, and that he had trouble getting people to come in and meet with him. They would just claim that they had COVID. And it made me think back to all of those different government officials that would post on Twitter, oh, I've been diagnosed positive with COVID, and they would copy paste like the exact same statement. Yeah. And it made me think, like, dude, how many of these people were doing that? And I know that it was going around like we were thinking at the time, they're doing this to get out of an investigation, or it's a comm that they've been subpoenaed or something. Now I'm thinking it really was a comm they had been subpoenaed, and it was also a public statement of an excuse as to why they couldn't be bothered to go be interviewed by Durham. I don't know that to be true, but Durham did take the time out to mention what an impediment the COVID lockdowns and precaution and everything had to do with the virus was to his special counsel. And I think that's something we should appreciate about Durham, that a big chunk of his investigation and the grand juries he ran, by my count, probably 6 or so grand juries were being run during 2020, 2021, and 2022 during COVID conditions. And he was having to negotiate that and deal with that. And as an investigator, that's a lot to have to deal with as far as travel, as far as getting people to show up for an interview, being willing to. And then when you have them being interviewed, if they're wearing a mask, you're losing information as far as what you can read on their face, right? And if you're interrogating someone and you're trying to get some information out of them, it's more difficult, I would imagine, to tell if they're lying if they're able to cover up a big portion of their face, right? So anyway, he took time out to mention it, and he may say more about it at the hearing, but that's something that stood out to me, and it's something that made me respect the job he did a bit more.
I have an add to that is it plays right off of your thought process is the CB4D Q post. So
Mm.
Q let us know that one of the interpretations anyways is Comey. The C is Comey. So Comey before Durham. So like you're saying, he might have had the Comey reports, and that's all Durham needed. So
Yep, it could be. I'm looking forward to his answer specifically on that one. I know he's going to get asked about why he didn't interview Comey, because Comey is a favorite target of Trump and Trump team, and
Right.
for good reason. For good reason, it builds up the kayfabe. It gives him plenty
yeah,
of narrative shielding. But I find it the most astounding. I didn't mention this. The most astounding thing, the number one surprise in that report to me, is that Durham interviewed Hillary Clinton in May of 2022, and it
No,
never leaked.
nobody heard about it.
Nobody
Not
knew
a
about
person.
it.
Nobody.
And I just think that is absolutely astounding. I think it speaks to Patriots in control. I think it speaks to Durham and his ability and his mission and his objective.
Right.
I think that if Hillary wasn't forced to show up for an interview, then it must mean she's that desperate to find
Yeah.
out what Durham has on her, that she went and did an interview and that she decided, I'm going to go in there with the Punisher. I mean, can you imagine at some point, guys, in May 2022, you had the Punisher and the Witch in the same room across from one another, and nobody knew.
Nobody leaked that at all, and that's such a big signal for Patriots in control. And
Mhm.
and I'm not saying that in a hopium manner. I'm saying I'm looking at the facts of what's going on. And it's, Joe has preached this from the mountaintops of even longer. Joe's the one that brought me on board with Patriots in full control. He and I used to kind of bump heads over that in a fun, jovial, kind of sarcastic man way. But um, some of the things we brought up recently that are just directly contradictory to black pills are the fact that Huber still has an investigation going, and that Durham Jr. still has an investigation going, and that there are still over 250,000 sealed indictments in this country. That hasn't gone away. They're still there, and that number is absurdly high. Like for anybody who's just new or just joining in, that number is insanely high. We're talking usually, what is it, like 1,250 to 1,500 sealed indictments per year, maybe as high as 2,000, Kyle. But since 2016, 27, we're talking tens of thousands of sealed indictments going up every year. So you got to start wondering, number one, they're not gone yet, which means they're still under seal. Number two, who are they for? And I've long had a theory that it's for the infiltrators of this country, not just the government officials, but I'm talking like the Antifa folks and BLM and these kind of folks. Q told us they had all of this mapped out, that these people were stupid and they were communicating through means they thought were safe that were not, and our guys have it all mapped out. And I've long kind of had a thought that all those sealed indictments may very well have to do with that.
Yeah, and the whole sealed indictments thing, I've looked at it, and where people are tracking it, and they're tracking sealed filings, but they're calling them indictments. Not all of them are indictments. Some of them are sealed search warrants. Some of them are sealed wiretaps, things like that, right?
Right.
But Durham, if Durham referred anybody or found any other indictments and they're still sealed, he wouldn't mention that in his report. He can't.
Right.
And I was one of the reasons that I thought, no, there's no way he's writing his final report right now. He's got indictments to bring, is that we know for a fact Durham ran 2 grand juries at least in 2022, yet didn't reveal any indictments out of them. And Durham is famous for never bringing anything to a grand jury unless he knew he could get an indictment. He's famous
Right.
for not doing the ham sandwich thing. He's famous for
Right.
being very strict that if he's going to impanel a grand jury on a matter, he's already gathered enough evidence. He knows he's going to get an indictment out of the grand jury, and it's perfunctory to him. Like, he knows. And he's very, very strict and studious, and he believes it's wrong for the federal government to go fishing, or for federal prosecutors to go fishing for indictments. He thinks that's morally and ethically wrong, and he's written about it. So I That's something else. I just can't believe that Durham ran 2 grand juries at least last year. He may have ran more and got nothing out of them. I think he got something and it's sealed and he can't mention in the report, which fits with him adding Adam Small, the National Security Division's RICO expert lawyer, to his. I mean, Durham added a RICO expert to his office on August 1st of 2022, yet didn't bring any more indictments. He didn't bring in Adam Small just to help him write a report.
So
he brought him in for a reason.
Right before we went live, Trump truthed out about Chris Christie, but he used the word small twice. Might be a little wink and a nod to what you're saying.
I love that. Did he put it in quotation marks?
Yeah, it was. I made the joke at 6:44 about the only, Chris Christie was giving this speech and he said, we're all small for some reason. And I said, I disagree. Chris Christie's belt, and that was at 6:44. And then Trump at 7:17 came over the top of my joke and said, what's Christie talking about small? And then he said small again. So he said it twice. So
nice.
It might be exactly what you're talking about though.
I love it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna rest on that. That's it. I'm gonna go with that.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with that as well, I think. So I think before we dive into this, man, I'm gonna hit our last ad break so that way we can just sail for the rest of the show. And after I get that, I'm gonna hit some thank yous and then we're gonna get right into it, folks. So we'll be right back after a couple minutes. I want to remind you guys, if you're out there watching, can hear our voice, go down there and smash that like button for us. Go down there and show your love and support for not only us but Badlands. And keep in mind when we play these ads, all these advertisers we play, they're all America first. They're all small businesses. They're all trying to build a parallel economy so we can get out from under these huge corporations that are kind of running things at the moment. And the way you take somebody like Target down is to boycott them with what they did, and then you shift your money and your marketing money and you just whatever kind of money you want to spend, shift it to these kind of companies. And if you go to badlandsmarketplace.com, you will find a whole list of America First businesses. So I'm going to go ahead and get to these ads, friends, and we'll see you guys in a couple minutes. Are you paying too much for your health insurance? If you are self-employed, the cost of medical insurance can often be like a mortgage payment. If you try to save money, you may wind up with very limited Obamacare coverage that will not fully protect you, or worse, a Medishare plan that is not insurance at all. Fortunately, there is a solution. For over 30 years, David Becker of Mid-Atlantic Business Alliance has been helping self-employed individuals save money and get better insurance. If you are paying for your own medical insurance, give David a call at 609-577-8557. There are proven ways to substantially reduce your cost without sacrificing coverage. Call Mid-Atlantic Business Alliance at 609-577-8557 to see if David Becker can help you today. That's 609-577-8557 to talk with David Becker. Fellow Badlanders, as a chef of 20 years, honey is one of my favorite raw ingredients to work with. Allow me a moment to tell you why Benson Honey Farms is my favorite brand of honey. Benson Honey Farms raw honey is directly from the hives of this America First family-owned business in Nebraska. Why should you choose Benson's honey? Because their process does not overheat, pasteurize, or filter the honey, which will guarantee that all the pollens and enzymes stay in the honey, providing tremendous health benefits for you and your family. Benson honey also never spoils or goes bad. It preserves itself. Be sure to take a look at Benson's pint squeeze bottles of raw honey to easily add delicious honey to your coffee or tea every day. With Benson Honey Farms, you're buying honey directly from the beekeeper, and you know where it's coming from. When you support Benson Honey Farms, you're directly supporting Badlands Media, and we appreciate it. Let Benson Honey Farms know you heard about them on Badlands by using rep code Badlands. That's rep code Badlands at bensonhoneyfarms.com. Welcome back, friends. And like I said, before we get into the comms of the evening, I want to go ahead and hit some thank yous real quick over on Rumble. There's so many over here bombing my phone from Barbara sending them to me. I started at the wrong spot. All right, here we go. We've got Zima Man 58 says the storm is coming. The outer bands are starting to appear. I think all three of us on this panel tonight would agree with that. Thank you so much for the support and the rant, my friend. Tattoo Teacher. I love Teacher, always in the chat every single week. I love the stories of all the places that brought such important patriot people to this movement. As always, thank you guys. No, thank you. For as much as you guys thank us and as much as you guys teach us, or as much as you say we teach you, you teach us equally as much, and we're equally as thankful for you. So thank you guys again. Poso for Hope saying those crazy Trump bad liberals all caught up in black pill mode. Pretty much, man. Sammy the Squirrel. I like how Kyle breaks down all these legal papers so we can understand it. We all love that about Kyle. And good to see you around, Sammy, as usual. Dirk McGurkin, the Durham Report is the playbill for the second act of the show. Keep a copy handy so you can keep track of what is going on. Well said, my friend. 100% agreed. Sorry, 117% agreed with you. TX 2013, great trio here. Thank you all for bringing us great information. You are more than welcome. Thank you so much for your support. We got Dak 8869 in the chat. Met Dak in Arizona. Dude is absolutely hysterical and just a complete trip to hang out with. It says rant challenge. Give a buck if you give a but only if you can. Here's mine and 9 more for those that may not be able. Welcome to the Eye, Kyle. So Dak has officially welcomed you to Eye of the Store, my friend. And Dak's welcomes are kind of legendary around these parts. Dirk McGurkin with $1 saying, I don't give a tuck. Dina Boyette saying, challenge accepted. Love all three of these guys. And we love you too, Dina. You're one of our favorites. Reha, great information. So glad I found all the Badlanders keeping us sane. Thank you so much for the gigantic rant, my friend. We appreciate your support and your love as well as Badlands. Moving on from that, goodness gracious, they just keep pouring in. Thank you guys so much. Salt Muncher ODA, my favorite non-Just Human Badlands show featuring Just Human, epic. Love it. That might be one of my favorite comments of the evening. And then FitzJO2 saying, can't thank you all enough for everything you guys do. You are the news. Thank you so much, guys. Every time we get to the rant portion of our show, it humbles me so much, man. I just love going through those and hearing all the kind words from you folks. So thank you guys so much. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get to this, man. Exactly. I echo Joe. Thank you guys so much. Joe, why don't you go ahead and take it away, man? And Kyle, after Joe gets done going through this thing, we'll talk about it for a second and get your take, buddy.
Sure.
Yeah, let's rock and roll. This is a fun one. I got to admit, I got a big time chuckle doing this one. So on the left, Donald Trump went, this was just the other day. So he went back to April of 25th to find April 25th of 2022, actually. I didn't even notice that. So he went back almost, over a year and just happened to pull out and retruth, at Sleepy Joe. And why is that important? Well, he happened to retruth a meme that is exactly the meme in Q75. So that alone, that side of the screen here, these two images is what we call a Q proof, that Donald Trump went way out of his way and found a particular meme that happened to be in the Q board. So that's a Q proof by itself. But what I got to chuckle out of is the first line in this particular Q75, POTUS returns from his trip. And guess what happened the very next day? POTUS, quote unquote, fake POTUS, U.S. president, quote unquote, Joe Biden trips and falls down. You can't make it up. You can if you're in full control and you believe whoever that is there on the ground, that's not really, the deep state in control. That's us. So that's my take on it, is that Trump went out of his way, hit the Q board, and that alone is a nice Q proof. But the first line in that Q is talking about a president having a trip. And then the very next day, you see what happened there with Mr. Slip and Fall over there. So pretty interesting stuff. Whether you believe all the way through like I did, if you just take the two screens on the left, solid Q proof. But what do you guys think?
Kyle, I'll let you go ahead and go with your thoughts first, man. What you got?
Okay. I love it. It's funny, but I love it because Trump, and going back to April of 2022, just to find that, like, that's a tell to me that he's like, guys, this is a comm. Yes, I am doing a comm. I'm going so far back and out of my way, all this extra effort to find this one thing that I could have just posted myself. Instead, he goes and finds a random account that posted it a long time ago. Now, in my opinion, I think that maybe he has a team of people who just this stuff, bookmark it, save it, file it away for when it's useful in the future, right?
Including this show, by the way. But go ahead.
Yes, yes. So I don't think it was that much work for him to do it. I think he was probably hit with it like, "Hey, DJT, here you go. Here's a selection of things you could post today in the comms folder." But I love it that he did that because that adds on to the tell of it. I also like, the drop with him with Biden tripping. It says that the world will be a different place by the time POTUS returns from his trip. I mean, it takes me back to Abraham Accords and how Trump went around the world and the world hasn't been the same since for a number of reasons, but specifically in regards to Saudi Arabia that's being mentioned there and Jared Kushner. The Abraham Accords have changed the world. They've robbed the intelligence agencies of a drug and arms dealing swamp that they had been operating for years and years, decades, actually, decades. They robbed the neocons and the neolibs of this conflict area that they could always harp on to build up the military industrial complex and get us involved in wars we didn't need to be involved with. Just so much in that drop right there stands out to me. And just thinking back to the effect that Jared Kushner and Trump had on the world and what they've been able to do. They started the world, the world started changing then. Like Trump, and we didn't see it for years later, right? Like they the change was seeded then, and it began way back then. And now where are we at? The Abraham Accords have grouped together nations that were previously at war with one another. The Iran and Saudi Arabia, who are Shiite and Muslim and Shiite and Sunni, and have hated each other for decades, are now have an agreement and are talking to each other. It's just amazing. So I like it that it's funny right there, using that same line. But I also just look back and it makes me reflect on the massive impact that Trump had on the world and how that impact and that change continues to make the world a better place years after Trump made that trip.
I absolutely agree with you, man. And Joe and I, maybe at the most 2 months ago, we hit the section of drops where it went really deep into Saudi Arabia, and Q really did break down how Trump and his administration went about dismantling that side of the triangle, as it were. And I, for a moment of levity, I made a video yesterday. It's kind of funny because I've talked about my brother before on this show and how he's kind of one of my barometers of how people are waking up and how they're coming around. And my brother's never been the kind of dude that's like stupid or asleep. He's actually the opposite, but had become quite apathetic to everything and really just kind of started buying into things. And I talked to everybody about how he's come around big time. So he was actually the one that requested me to make this video the other day, which made me laugh. And he sent me the link for the original, which I kind of chopped up a little bit. And but he's like, can you make a compilation? Can you like take this compilation of Biden falling and make it funny with some good background music? And I was like, yes, I can. So I went ahead and did that. It's only about a minute long, but I figured why not, man? With Joe throwing that slide in there, this is the perfect spot to play it. So we're gonna go ahead and give this a look, friends. I couldn't help it, man. What an absolute embarrassment. Anyway, moving along, Joe.
When you sorry to interrupt you, but when you went through and found all those, did any of them feel to you like he was doing it on purpose, or did they all feel real?
It all feels like he's doing it. You know what? I try to stay away from it's like that kind of stuff mainly because I don't feel like taking the slack for it in my chat or anything. Yeah, dude, I think it's all on purpose, man. Like you're literally watching this dude destroy the Democratic Party. Like there's gonna be no like you're just he's the biggest walking red pill we've ever had. I take a lot of
Yes.
shit for that, but the dude is a walking red pill. Like I don't know how many other ways even me and Joe on this show can go about telling you that. Like he's everything the dude does wakes more people up. Like you
Yep.
never destroy your enemy when they're in the process of destroying themselves. Like or you never stop your enemy when they're in the process of destroying themselves, right? Like I'm pretty sure that's what we're seeing here, man. There's a reason Trump talked about the art of war so much, man. A lot of the stuff we're seeing right now is from that. Like they're just letting them drive themselves into the dirt. It's fantastic.
It is.
Yeah, I don't have any problem saying it. You guys both know I've been saying it since the Bush Senior funeral that ain't Biden, and whoever that is, we're controlling that, and whoever that is isn't in his 80s or whatever heck the age, because you wouldn't be able to take those spills off of bikes, off of stages like that, and it would be a serious risk. So just enjoy the show.
Yeah, yeah, pretty much. Here we go with our next slide, man. Joe, this is you had done a poll, which you I'm sure you can touch upon when you go over this, but Assange is another area that Kyle is pretty well read up on. So let's go ahead and take a look at this one and get his take on it.
Yeah, so this is I'm reading off a few Q drops here in the upper left. Julian Assange in the news, June, estimated time of arrival. Now what do we have? June 1st, 2023, Assange in the news. And I noted here that we can have Just Human on to talk about it a little further, because this was actually something I saw that he had posted this news column here on the right that's talking about what the FBI found and all these different things about the WikiLeaks founder. I had hoped the case against him would wound up, and how Assange and WikiLeaks shot to the global prominence. So we'll roll this over to Just Human in a second, but just so we can go around the horn here, what I'm talking about in the Q drops, the initials JA is Julian Assange, and Q had told us to look for an estimated time of arrival. In the Q in the left, the SR is Seth Rich and Julian Assange in June, and Anon is asking anything. You gave us the heads up, estimated time of arrival. So we didn't know what year, and there on the bottom there it says estimated time of arrival is estimated. It has begun, by the way. Q says server unlocks Seth Rich, those types of things. Then we have a Q Delta coming up June 11th for next week. And we have Julian Assange. Q put up a video of him smiling, and somebody's asking, is this man free? If he isn't, can we help him? He's a hero. And then here we go. Lo and behold, very first day of June, what did we have? We had all this Julian Assange news. So to me, I'm hoping, because I've said since the movement has started that Assange is really one of the major players that unlocks a lot of different things. So whenever he really gets thrusted into the limelight, excitement on my end, and I know a lot of people out there's end as well. So when I see Q telling us June Assange, and then on June 1st we have this huge release with Julian Assange, and other things from his wife the week before, and different things that we covered, but just kind of smashed the board here with the June 1st. We got the June 11th deltas, and then Assange coming into the news June 1st, 2023. But Just Human, what's your take on all these connects, and what's your thoughts around go forward strategy with Assange?
All right, so 100% agree that this is a hit. The June 1st Julian Assange story, it's a hit on the drop, period, in my opinion. And James Comey's in the news. Doesn't think JC, isn't that referring to James Comey? So James Comey's in the news right now. His book just came out. I got it over my shoulder over here. I haven't read it yet, but he's in the news right now. And then the server, we haven't heard much about the server lately, but still we have the Durham report, which Durham keeps like talking around the DNC hack and WikiLeaks and Assange. It's like there, And you know from reading the scope of his investigation, he could go there. It looks like he didn't, but we can't see the classified portion. For all we know, the classified portion of his report is 24 pages of him talking about the DNC and Assange and WikiLeaks and Seth Rich, right? This,
Wiki.
I think this is a great hit. On Assange, I have what I would say is a mixed opinion of him. I do agree that I think he's absolutely key. I think he's super important, and I can't wait for him to be extradited and for him to get a trial in America. And I want him to have a fair trial. I'm not trying to judge him guilty beforehand, but I'm old enough to remember when Assange was not someone that people right of center regarded as a hero. And I remember how we thought of Assange for a lot of years. And then I also remember the switch to where suddenly he became hated by the left. He used to be loved by the left and hated by the right. And then it flipped after the DNC hack and the emails getting released. Now the left hated Assange because he released Podesta and Hillary's emails. And then the right started loving him because of that. And with the drops, I did this a while back. I didn't do it before the show, but I did it many months ago when something came out about him. And I read through all the drops about Assange. And I just can't come away from the drops with a positive impression of Assange, like as a person, but I can come away with an impression that he is very important to this operation. And which causes me to think we have to protect him. If he is so important to this operation, if he is the key to Seth Rich, the key to the DNC hack, the key to Hillary's emails and all this stuff, he needs to be protected.
Yep.
And I believe that that is why he was indicted. And now, before I came on the show today, I went back and I reread his indictment. And reading his indictment, it don't look too good. A lot of people paint the Assange picture as being solely about journalistic freedom. And it is legal for a journalist, if they get stolen or classified material, to publish that. You have that right in America under the First Amendment. But Assange didn't do that. Or at least that's not all he did. Assange also instructed Manning how to crack the passwords. He encouraged Manning and others to steal from DOD and other agencies. In fact, he encouraged at a conference after Manning had been caught. He went to a hacking conference and said, I don't want you guys to not get a job at the CIA. I want all of you to get a job at the CIA, go into their ballpark and take the ball out. And as a non-fan of the CIA, as someone who wants to see the CIA destroyed, part of me is like, heck yeah, I want people to do that too. But I also have to recognize that that would be illegal. And if Assange is telling people to go and do that, that doesn't make him a journalist. That makes him someone who is scraping and encouraging people to go and hack things so that they could then turn it over to him. He set up various drop boxes and things that these people could go to drop off what they had hacked. He reviewed it, and then he asked them for more, which a journalist can't do. A journalist can't go to a hacker and say, hey, I want this information. Can you go hack this business or this agency for me and get that information? That's illegal. But a journalist can receive that stuff and then publish it as the receiver of it. And he can't act towards the acquiring of it. And that's what Assange did, according to the indictment. Now, the indictment could be wrong. The indictment I haven't heard Assange's defense, right? He hasn't had his day in court to defend himself. And I'm very much looking forward to it. Like I said, I haven't judged him either way. I do view him as mixed. But because I think he's so important, I think that's why he was indicted. And I think that's real. I've brought it up on my show before, and it can be really hard to swallow that because we've been through so many years of Assange being propped up as a hero, and also Snowden, who I very much believe is a black hat. General Flynn believes he was a black hat too. There's a recording of General Flynn talking about all the damage Snowden did to the NSA. If you regard Snowden highly, I encourage you to look that up. Yeah, I think Pompeo and Barr, because they knew that Assange was about to be free out of that embassy, they set up and they indicted him, and then they brought a superseding indictment in in June of 2020 to keep him in prison. And that prison, Belmarsh, it's one of the most secure prisons in the entire world. And I'm not trying to sit here and tell you that Assange is having a great time there. But if I'm the deep state and I know that Assange is the key that unlocks Seth Rich murder and the DNC hack and all that, I'm going to try and take him out, right? That would be the move for the deep state to make, is take out Assange. And how do you protect Assange? Well, an indictment and putting him in Belmarsh surely does keep him protected. So that's my estimation of Assange and where we're at with him. And I don't know when we get more information about him. I checked what the status of his extradition is. The Biden administration said about 2 months ago or a month and a half ago, they announced they were going to continue seeking his extradition. Now, if the Biden administration is working for the swamp and the deep state, why are they trying to extradite Assange to the U.S.? Don't you think they would try to they would drop that and let him be free where he could be taken care of? I think the Patriot play is to get him extradited to the U.S. so that they can then interview him and ask him about a number of other things, like the DNC hack and about Seth Rich and all that other stuff. I did that article that says the investigation is ongoing. The investigation never closed. The WikiLeaks people put out a statement after that article saying, "We've seen this news article. Yeah, it's interesting, but we just want you to know that the investigation into Assange never ended. The probe that he was indicted under never ended." And I think it's because it's actually, there's more going on than that. I think he has the goods on Seth Rich's murder, and I think he knows everything about I think he knows about the Renteria memo. I think that I think he has information on that can pin Loretta Lynch. So I'm really looking forward to him coming over to the U.S.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, if for nothing else, what next it signals in what we're seeing. We got somebody in the chat that appears to be a little confused on how extraditions work. He's kind of asking, how can Assange be charged in America and indicted in America because the crimes he's accused of crossed international boundaries and came into America. If the UK agrees to extradite him, that means they're agreeing to turn him over to American custody to do with him as we wish, as per our laws. Is that correct, Kyle?
Yeah, pretty much. His the thing that makes it where America indicted him is because he worked with Manning and others to hack U.S. agencies. And I'm sorry for people who worship Assange as a hero, but the information he got resulted in the compromise and the murder of lots of Afghans who were our friends in Afghanistan. He put tons of agents at risk. He put American soldiers at risk. In fact, I don't think it's a stretch to say that Assange and WikiLeaks publishing the U.S.'s rules of engagement in Iraq and Afghanistan, it got Americans killed. Yeah. Because once the enemy knew what the rules of engagement were that American military was operating under, the enemy then adapted to make sure they could do just enough to not be engaged by the U.S. Right. I hope that makes sense. I mean, that right there got people killed. Now, to Assange's credit, in 2015, I think it was, he called Hillary Clinton's State Department to let them know that he had classified intelligence that was stolen from WikiLeaks, that an employee went rogue and was going to publish this stuff, and it was going to put U.S. agents at risk. And he called the Hillary Clinton State Department to warn them about this and to tell them it wasn't him doing it, that it was a rogue operator that had taken this stuff and posted it online. And the Hillary Clinton State Department didn't do anything about it. They let those people get put at risk. So to Assange's credit, he did do that. And if you're interested in that recording, Project Veritas published it back in December 2021, maybe, or December 2020. It's really interesting that he took those steps to try and warn the Hillary Clinton State Department. And it makes me wonder if by that time he had kind of changed the way he was going about his business and realized some of the harm he had caused to people. I don't know, but that is a credit to him that sticks out in my mind.
Yeah, I tend to agree, and I agree with you as well. I'm not necessarily a fan of Assange the person. I'm a fan of the fact that he's obviously serving some kind of a purpose for what we're seeing, and that's what I'm more interested in than anything. I acknowledge some of the stuff he did. I can see how it would be viewed in a favorable light, but like you said, um, he helped lead toward quite potentially American deaths, and as you said, Afghan deaths, and he's not necessarily the best individual. He's just and you've seen a lot of that within the Q stuff. There's a lot of people who have been leveraged to get what we need. And I guess my point is, I think he's one of them. I'm not necessarily vouching for him as a good person or some kind of a hero or something like that.
Yeah, it's difficult, man. It really is. It's difficult to know how to square him. And WikiLeaks operated. I agree with Pompeo. WikiLeaks operated as a stateless intelligence agency. That's what they were. Also, I think that's what Fusion GPS was. I also think that's what Project Veritas was, and probably what O'Keefe Media will be. Right? It's a stateless intel agency, and there's probably more groups like that that function that way. And that's where WikiLeaks can be very useful to good guys, right? But they can also be useful to bad guys. So
spinning off of this conversation, this is also an upcoming Q Delta, June 28th, 2018. Server or Julian Assange, truth exposed sets rich. I guess it's saying Democrats are in crisis mode. Iran is bigger than you can imagine. Putin, Uranium One will come out post-summit. They will try to apply artificial mainstream news heat to cancel. These people are corrupt beyond belief. America for sale, sold out Q. And then has this graphic that I blew up on the right, but free Julian Assange, Anon wrote. And then Q came back to that person who asked for Assange to be free and says, coincidence, Assange news out of nowhere, crisis mode Q. But here's an interesting graphic. So and Anon put this together and Q posted it. So it's Q confirming that this graphic was correct. So we got April 19th, 2018. It was an old Q 1195. And it's talking about Assange, estimated time of arrival, June. And then it says, blowing up how Comey interviewed to kill the WikiLeaks immunity deal. And that was when? June 25th, 2018. And it's talking about a limited immunity deal that Comey was a part of. Unexpected intervention by Comey relayed through Warner source negotiations. So pretty interesting stuff here. What's your take, guys? I'd love to get some feedback on what's here.
For me, it's number one, more evidence that those two dudes are a piece of a larger puzzle. And for me personally, it's a little more evidence that Comey is playing the game. Like that's how I see this. I know it's hard to see that, but I also tend to agree with Kyle from before that I think one of the reasons Assange is so vastly important is because of the Seth Rich stuff and the DNC stuff. And so for me, this is one of those that kind of starts to tie all that together and puts it all under the same lens.
I love it that it's described as an unexpected intervention by Comey. Comey has a bit of a history of doing some unexpected things and showing up and spoiling things, but spoiling them for the deep state more so than he does the Patriots. But the news characterizes it as he spoiled it for the Patriots. And to me, this is one of those things. I need to go and read the draft immunity deal offer, but to have more of an opinion on that specifically. But that's what stands out to me is Comey jumping in and making sure that didn't happen.
Right.
By offering a deal they couldn't accept. So
you love it. We got more Comey, so I'm going to go ahead and move on.
So this is just a video of Ted Cruz put up by The Storm Has Arrived. And I think it'd probably be best just to hear what he has to say.
Yeah, let's do it.
And Sean, it gives me no pleasure to say it, this Attorney General, Merrick Garland, is the most partisan, he is the most political Attorney General in our nation's history, and he has corrupted the Department of Justice, he has corrupted the FBI, he has corrupted the machinery of government, and they're perfectly willing to use it. It is effectively an arm of the DNC. The hypocrisy is massive, and mark my words, I believe Merrick Garland will indict Donald Trump. He wants to indict Donald Trump because he hates Donald Trump. He hates him. He's angry. Merrick Garland is angry that he wasn't confirmed to the Supreme Court. He wants to indict him. I think the plan was to indict him over classified documents. And then he got the enormous problem that Joe Biden seemed to have classified documents everywhere, including in the garage by his old Corvette. I don't think Merrick Garland will indict Trump over classified documents. Here's my prediction. He'll indict Trump over, quote, obstruction of justice for hiding the classified documents. Now, mind you, he's not saying the underlying classified documents were a crime because he'd have to indict Joe Biden, too. He's going to instead create a crime about a non-crime. That's going to be the basis of the indictment. And I think you're right. He will also indict Hunter Biden, but he'll do it on purely personal matters, dealing with drugs and guns and tax issues for Hunter that have nothing to do with Joe Biden, because this DOJ wants to protect and insulate Joe Biden and the Biden family's corruption, and they want to use Hunter Biden as a scapegoat to justify targeting Donald Trump.
That was spicy as shit. I loved that. I picked up a few things from that. Kyle, I want you to go first, man. What did you pick up? Not just in a sense of what he was saying, but like reading between the lines, perhaps, of what he was saying.
So when I first saw this, I got all irritated and scoffed and didn't even listen to the whole thing because I was like, oh gosh, it's more rage bait. But you know, I used to get upset about stuff like this, and I guess I can't say I used to. I literally did turn it off halfway through. But after I calmed down a bit and watch it again, what I think about is that the Patriots need to give as much narrative shielding as they can to DOJ, because the amount of justice that is going to come out against the swamp and the deep state is going to be so massive that people are going to be screaming that they must be doing Donald Trump's bidding. So the more the Patriots and build up DOJ as this monster that is going after Trump and crooked and politicized and all this stuff, all of these lines that Cruz uses and others, the more they do that, the more they build up that protection for DOJ for when they go after people. You know, I think that's exactly what goes on here. If you want to call it kayfabe, I guess you could, but to me, it's just like they have to paint this picture of everything being against Trump, because in reality, a lot of it is with Trump, and they're going after the people that Trump wants them to go after and that need to be gone after. Now, do I think Trump will be arrested by or be indicted by Garland? No, I don't. I think Merrick Garland is a patriot, and I think that this characterization of him as this crazy swamp creature, whatever, deep state guy doing Biden's bidding is complete. I think it's just silly and just garbage. A sober look at Merrick Garland's time as AG shows you that he is the same as Bill Barr. He's kept all of Bill Barr's initiatives and policies, and he's going after the same people. He's increased some of it. He's doing a great job, and I know I'm going to get hated for saying that. You're not supposed to say that, but he is doing a great job, and so much of the negative information about Garland is fake news. And just to give you an idea of how good Garland is, Trump considered nominating him to SCOTUS. Mm-hmm. So that tells you everything right there, that Garland is not this monster of the left that people are making him out to be now. Smith, Special Counsel Smith, is who Cruz is actually talking about might indict Trump. And I don't think it'll happen. I don't believe that. But if it does, it's because Trump wants it to. Right. And I wrote a short thread about it tonight on Twitter, that Trump, everything going along this documents case with Trump has been according to how Trump wanted it to be. He's invited it on himself. He's
Right.
made it happen. And at every single step of the way, Trump has been the director of it. At any time, he could have stopped this by turning over everything he took from the White House and then fought to get back what he wanted, right? But instead, he's played these games, which could be considered obstruction. And part of me wonders, is he obstructing on purpose just a little bit so he can catch an obstruction charge, beat it? But the media spends a year talking to people about obstruction right before Hillary Clinton gets indicted for her obstruction in the server case.
Right.
I don't know, but
Yeah.
that's what I think about it.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I think that's what we're going to see as well. This is why I've talked about before on the show that I don't suspect we're going to see this whole big military sweeping in and rounding everybody up, because you're not going to restore any kind of trust or faith in the justice system by doing that. Just think all these investigations they've thrown at our people and our side, and think boomerang and think mirror. And so everything they throw on us never sticks. It seems big and scary at first, and it always ends up being a gigantic nothing burger. When we start throwing it back on them, it's going to stick, and you're going to see justice through the justice system. And that's how you're going to restore trust from Americans in the justice system. I think there will be some big ones and some people that will shock the status quo, so to speak. And I don't think there will be like a sweeping under the rug of what folks like the Clintons and Obamas have done. I don't think that's going to happen at all. But I'm simply saying you're not going to see like the helicopters swooping in and tanks rolling down the road and martial law called everywhere while everybody's rounded up at once. I don't believe that's going to happen at all. So I'm right there with you, man. You summed that up really well, and I'm definitely in agreement with you. Joe, you want to take us over this next one, man, or did you have more to add on to the previous?
Well, it kind of bleeds into this one, but anytime I hear anybody, whether it's Ted Cruz or we're going to hear from his press secretary or anybody else that's talking about a Trump indictment, I always get a little flutter in my chest, if you will, because you guys were in We the Media with me, where I was talking about that it's going to be possible that Trump is going to get indicted at some point, and that I talked about it for a full year before I even posted about it. But what we're going to see next really hit what part of what I was saying about that at some point Trump might get indicted, and it comes from our press secretary. We covered this on April 4th's show, but it leads into some things that we're seeing out of Trump and what you just heard from Ted Cruz. So I just wanted to play this little short 2-minute clip from April 4th.
All righty, here we go.
Okay, so on the left, Shannon captured this picture, and the funny thing about the picture, if you go around the horn there of the four ladies on there, the four gals, if you will, that you got Kaylee in what looks almost like just a straight up Pepe outfit. You got the white hat there from Faulkner, and then you have straight up Q Canary, Militime Q yellow there, and then red Mega. So kind of thought this was color comms here tonight. But remember the post that I wrote in 2021? I said the Puppy Bowl, it's going to make the Super Bowl look like the Puppy Bowl. Well, part of that was pointed to, and where was it pointed to? Here on the right, it happened to be pointed to around the Southern District of New York, where everything is going on right now. And what's it say there? Where they're pointing to charges against the president. And this Q was written in 2019 again. All right, so it says we'll make the Super Bowl look like a puppy show. So what did Kaylee say tonight, right after Trump is about to be indicted? What the heck did she say?
It's pretty crazy what she says. Have a listen, folks.
Alvin Bragg, who has a press conference at, I believe it's 3-something. You know who won't be gagged? The mainstream media, or liberal media rather, who's spreading all sorts of things about the former president. You can turn it to an alternate mainstream network with very low ratings, and what you will find on there is their senior legal analyst calling today the Super Bowl. How sad is that? Repeatedly over the last 48 hours, that network has called this a moment Donald Trump has.
So weird. So weird.
Crazy. That's crazy. I like how she made sure to get the little bit of shade and snark in there toward the low ratings of the other mainstream media networks too. That was nice. That's why we love Kaylee.
Yeah. And she stood on the word Super Bowl on purpose. She did it. I don't think I put it in the show tonight, but she also did it last night with Boomerang.
But you had grabbed the video for. Do you know who that person is on Telegram? Do you want to talk about the handle at all?
So, very interesting stuff. That was from a few weeks ago. So, the original take, why I thought Trump might get indicted, it led into the Super Bowl comms. And then, right as Trump was quote unquote being indicted, we had his press secretary literally say the key words Super Bowl into those comms. So, why am I bringing this back up? Well, there was two reasons. Number one, we just heard from Ted Cruz, who's talking about Trump getting indicted again. So that's one reason. But number two is, we've had this back and forth with Donald Trump and Kayleigh, where a lot of people are jumping to the gun that these two are really in a dispute, but that's not the case. Okay, Kayleigh was Donald Trump's press secretary. So what does that mean? That means that Kayleigh knows a lot of information behind the scenes that she can't talk about publicly. So as much as we all love Donald Trump and love the MAGA movement, she must love it 10 times more than us because she has 10 times more information than us. And there's absolutely no way she's sliding against Donald Trump. What does make perfect sense is that the two of them are putting on a show. And if you need a little more help than what I just showed you from 5 or 6 weeks ago, where she literally was hitting the key cue drop that that Donald Trump might get indicted. She's in those comms. She also said boomerang the night before she was in those comms. And now here she is with Donald Trump posted this talking about Kayleigh, called her milquetoast. And she's got the wrong poll numbers up and DeSantis, this, that, and the other thing. And he truthed it out at 8:20. And I saw this actually on Kyle's Telegram, Just Human. He put that up that hits Q 820 with what? Oh, secretary _test. So there's our press secretary, beautiful Kayleigh, pointing right to it. That's awesome. And then Just Human also, was putting the play on words what milquetoast is. So lots of information here, but love to get your take, Kyle. I took some of this from your page.
Yeah, man. So my favorite thing about this story, I was totally surprised when Kayleigh came out and started saying what she was saying. I've been paying that much attention to her. Apparently, she's been kind of making some comments here and there that were negative towards Trump. I hadn't picked up on any of that. But a member of my chat and a friend, Patriot CP, commented to me immediately, this looks like kayfabe. Instead of kayfabe, it's kayfabe. Yeah. And I just thought, that's it. That is it. And that's what I've been going with ever since. It's kayfabe. And this is one of my favorite things about the drops, what's happening here. And I just want to point it out for anybody who likes the drops and is into them. These drops, there's something about them where they can come back around. And the calm that was originally intended by the drop at the time when it was dropped can come back around and be used again. And that's what's happening with this sec test. Originally, I would say that this probably meant security test. I'm not sure, but there's I don't remember how many drops say sec test. I want to say it's like 3 or 5 of them do.
If I recall correctly, this one was a security test for the board to check.
There's way more than that. There's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11 of them mentioned sec test. And then there's one that mentioned sec test 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So anyway, I like it when I see Trump or Scavino or somebody tag a drop like this to where it's not the original meaning of the drop, let's say.
Right.
But it still connects to current events and what they're saying now. And it's just another calm. It's just another way to communicate where it's almost like somebody calling back to a lyric of a song and using that lyric in conversation with you. And you both recognize the song and have a laugh about it. Yeah. I love that. Elon Musk did this. I'm sure not everybody in the audience is a fan of Elon Musk, but I want to point out that the very day that Elon Musk announced on Twitter that he had filed the paperwork with the SEC to purchase Twitter, the timestamp on that tweet is a sec test. I want to say it's 7:31 or something like that. And 7:23 maybe. I think it's 7:23. when Elon Musk did that, I was like, boom, he's buying Twitter. It's going to happen. And the Patriots are in control. This Elon Musk is connected to the Q team, and he's doing this for the Patriots.
Nice.
Yeah, me and Joe 100% agree with you there, man. We absolutely believe that Elon Musk is very well connected to all of this and a bigger part of it than most realize.
So we touched on Southern District of New York in what we just read with Kaylee with the Super Bowl cues, and that's actually hits this one over here on the right is the same. You can see that Super Bowl greater than the Puppy Bowl is the last line in the cue, but all throughout this particular cue, Q4484, it's talking about the importance of the Southern District of New York jurisdiction. What do we have there? We have the Wiener evidence collection, the Hillary Clinton Foundation, Epstein evidence, Ukraine. Focus on the above for now. Watch New York City, Southern District of New York. The guard refusing to step down, POTUS refusal to formally nominate, appointed to post by Southern District of New York judges, unusual removal, acting, stakes are high, they will fight, Super Bowl bigger than Puppy Bowl. And this was coming up another Delta, by the way, June 20th, 2020. So not a surprise that, Homie Comey is talking about he's embarking on a new career. He's going back to his roots and he's pulling from his experience, his time as an attorney in where? The Southern District of New York. And he's writing crime novels. So pretty funny coincidences here. Absolute. I don't know if you have anything to add or if we have any video on this one.
We do. I got that video right there pulled, and I thought it was pretty interesting when I was sitting here scraping it and listening to it. On the surface, it certainly appears like he's beating up MAGA and beating up the right and taking shots at him. But if you really listen between the lines of what this dude is saying, and the fact that there's a column right beside him, and Trump mentioned taking down the fifth column, it's pretty interesting what he has to say, especially if you apply the think mirror kind of lens to it.
Yeah.
And look at it from that kind of perspective. So let's go ahead and take a look at this, and then we'll get our opinions on it.
Speaking of places that you've been, and the sort of the things that happen to you when you're in that fishbowl, you had to respond to so many criticisms, and I looked at your op-ed after the IG report came out, and you said this about some of the accusations that had been hurled your way. Those of us who knew that truth had to remain silent while a torrent of smears and falsehoods flowed from the White House, from some congressional committee chairmen, the Attorney General, and Fox News personalities. The FBI's work was perceived as a threat to the president, and many Republicans apparently believed that all threats to Trump must be destroyed, no matter the cost to the nation. What has the cost been to the FBI and the nation?
I think the FBI has been damaged in a couple of respects. I think it has, most importantly, it has lost some of the faith and confidence of American citizens. I think they tend to be people of political passions. That's a much smaller slice of our country than the rest of us. But I think that because it's become part of the wars in our polarized environment, it's been damaged. And that matters in this sense. When an agent from the Bureau knocks on the door or stands up in a courtroom and says, I saw this, I heard this, I know this, it's really important that they be believed and not seen as a Democrat, a Republican, a something else. Instead, be seen as good people trying to figure out what's true. That's essential to our public safety. And of course, 38,000 employees, there's going to be people who do things they shouldn't do. But in the overwhelming main, they have to be seen as what they are, which is people just trying to do the right thing. And so that's a damage. The other piece of damage is the way in which it's become free for politicians, especially on the so-called right, in MAGA world and adjacent MAGA world, to use it as a punching bag, accuse the FBI of all kinds of things, in part because they know the FBI won't respond. Right? It's not, the FBI is really keen not to be dragged into political fights. And so you can say lots of things knowing that the FBI director is not going to be doing a hit on the evening news to knock down what you just said. And so it's become, those two things feed each other. The distrust of some parts of the American population is connected to that cynical effort to beat up on the FBI. And so those two things combine to do it damage. The good news is, just as all pendulums swing, the pendulum will swing back in the United States. We'll be in a healthier place long before my kids are my age. But in the short term, it's done us damage.
He's not wrong.
No, and the pendulum
He's not wrong.
The pendulum swings back sounds a lot like Boomerang, and then he's talking about he mentioned you have to take down the enemies of this country no matter the cost to the country. It sounds an awful lot like it had to be this way. If you remove the stuff he said about MAGA and the right, he's talking about our enemies and he's not talking about us. That's just that's one hill that I'm on. I'm on that hill with you, Kyle, and Joe's on the hill too. That this guy, to me, that interview was laden with comms. What do you guys think?
Yeah.
Joe, what do you think, man?
Yeah, we're going to get to another one in a little bit that even goes a little deeper, but yeah, I'm with you. What do you think, Kyle?
Yeah, I heard a lot of comms in that. If we engage bicameral thinking, which me and BB talk about a lot, you can interpret from that so much. If you just look at the headline, FBI has been damaged. You're damn right they've been damaged. We figured out how many bastards were in there on the 7th floor, and Trump and team started clearing those motherfuckers out. I mean, they've been damaged. We took care of those people. We got rid of them. We're still getting rid of them. Of them. And the FBI has been further damaged, and it's a good thing, right? We're getting rid of bad people that are in the FBI. This is a spy v spy war, right? There's an insurgency in America. There's a deep state that controls law enforcement and intel agencies and media that is at war with America, and we're at war with them. It's a clandestine war. Nothing that stands out to me is that drop mentioning SDNY and the importance of SDNY. And it's not that SDNY is so bad. It's that the SDNY is where almost all of the important people in the Trump admin earned their stripes and cut their teeth, including Trump. It's the SDNY that Rudy Giuliani and Trump were working out of together. It's the SDNY and also the Manhattan DA and the EDNY that contracted, I believe, or not, I think contract's the right word, but the worked with the Trump organization to make them DOJ assets to help take down the mafias, the Gambinos and the Scarfos and all of them. Comey, Mueller, all of those people, Ray, all those people came out of the SDNY. Rosenstein, Robert K. Hurd, the special counsel on Biden, they came out of Maryland, which is also a really important field office, the Baltimore field office. But the SDNY is crucially important because the history that all of those people that Trump worked with and Rudy worked with in the 80s and 90s to go after the mafia, all of those people, and also the CIA, I was just mentioning in chat earlier, because somebody said that Barr protected the CIA. That's a bunch of BS. Barr and Mueller and Trump's brother went after BCCI in the late 80s and 90s. BCCI was the bank that the CIA used to run their safari club. It was the CIA money laundering outfit. And Barr, Mueller, all these people went after that bank. And they got stopped by who? The Bushies. So this is a long war that is an age-old battle that these people have been involved in, and all those people magically wound up in Trump's DOJ at the same time during his first administration. There's no coincidence in that. Another thing I want to mention about it is that SDNY, of course, Trump's Trump Tower in New York is located there, right? Comey's book is titled Central Park West. Trump has an apartment at Central Park West. And Central Park West is just around the corner from Trump Tower. It's walking distance.
Right. Another thing Comey said in that snippet was when he said you have to remember that most men and women at the FBI are there to do the right thing. That's literally in another Q drop as well. Q says, 99% of these agents are good people. It's simply the top that's corrupted that is causing the problems. So that was very interesting interview with Comey. And we're going to move right on to some more Comey stuff, including another video. Joe, why don't you go ahead and take this away, buddy?
Yeah, this is the one I was talking about. So I wrote a lot to unpack here from Comey. Comey throws in the president can be elected wearing an ankle monitor, which has been my take why Hillary was wearing this medical boot back in 2017. So if you haven't been following this show or me on Twitter, this was one of my original takes, because we had John McCain, we had Hillary, we had like 6 others all wearing these medical boots at the same time in late 2017. And it was my take that it was virtually impossible for all these deep state actors all at the same time to have these medical boots on. And actually John McCain's ankle boot switched from leg to leg depending on what he was doing that day. So that was a clear evidence that it wasn't really a medical condition, that it was something else. So my take has been is that all these deep state actors, McCain and Sinema and Hillary, and the list went on and on and on. Even Huma had a situation going on, that this medical boot was actually a cover, that they were wearing monitors on their ankle. And Comey also throws in movie, and he talks to the reporter that they shouldn't take any time off this summer, which leads to the Q drop. August is traditionally a very hot month. So, Pepe Lives Matter is the one that put up the Comey video, and he had his take there. Absolutely. You want to just read what Pepe Lives Matter wrote there, and then we could play the video?
Yeah, man, no problem. Our good buddy Pepe Lives Matter is saying James Comey can envision a scenario where Donald Trump wins back the presidency in an ankle bracelet. He says it would be rejected if you put it in a script for a show, but Trump could be incarcerated when he is elected. He says he could be indicted in the summer, so that way they can have a resolution before he takes office. They are still terrified of @real Donald Trump. So I'm going to just go ahead and play this one, and then we'll get our thoughts after it. I think this one is even more interesting than the previous one. Joe, what do you think?
Yeah, man.
All right, here we go.
Can you envision a scenario where Trump manages to win back the White House and justice is delayed?
I could. I don't want to, but I could. I mean, it's this crazy world that Donald Trump has dragged this country into, but he could be wearing an ankle bracelet while accepting the nomination at the Republican convention. And
could be wearing an ankle bracelet and be elected in November.
Yeah, we could have, it would be rejected if you put it in a script for a show, but you could have a president who is potentially incarcerated when he's elected president. So that would be weird and awkward. And it seems even crazy to be coming out of my mouth, but that's the situation we face. It looks like the Republicans will likely nominate someone who is under serious criminal investigation, is indicted, and who knows where that's going to lead us.
But if he is elected and sworn in as a president, would they pause? Would the precedent be that they pause activity or consideration of these legal cases, or is that up to the jurisdiction of the law enforcement officials at the time?
Yeah, there's no precedent whatsoever that I'm aware of. We've never contemplated electing again someone like Donald Trump, and so I don't know what would happen. It's the federal government doesn't control the Manhattan DA or the Fulton County DA, and so none of the normal traditions and norms around respecting the office of the presidency and not distracting the president with criminal charges at the federal level, none of those would be implicated. And I can't imagine a circumstance where the Department of Justice wouldn't, if they're going to charge him, wouldn't have done it so far in advance that we'd have a resolution before he took office.
So do it in time, to do it this summer, not that you don't have insight into this, but do it this summer. That would mean that they could complete the cases before he would take office.
Yes, I don't know anything, obviously, but I would predict your summer will be, don't plan any long vacations as a journalist.
So it's going to be a hot summer then?
Yeah.
Is that what he was getting at? That was just laden with all kinds of juicy bits. Joe, what did you take away from that? What do you like from it, or what did you see in it?
Yeah, the 3 points that I laid out there was the, just out of nowhere, he's talking about an ankle monitor, that he's talking about a movie script, and then he's talking about a hot summer. Those are all things that are moving into the Q movement. Seem heavy comms to me. Good to see good old Jen again. I kind of forgot about little Cabbage Patch there. Good to see her. Yeah. After Kyle chimes in, I want to put the graphic back up because there's one more piece to it.
Yeah, I think Comey is literally telling us what is going to happen And I think he did it so much that he felt the need to say, obviously, I don't have any inside information there at the end. I think he literally told us what is going to happen. And I'm okay with it. I think it's all part of the plan. I like especially him saying that he thinks it'll be resolved long before he's sworn in taking office. And I think that too. I think the case will be resolved pretty quickly, an obstruction case. I think Trump will beat it, but obstruction will be in the news. And it'll also make it think about Trump being indicted by DOJ and fighting that battle as the primaries come up and he has a trial to deal with. Do you think any state is going to try and take him off the ballot? Do you think that any primary is not going to go his way? I think that you'll see the GOP establishment reveal exactly how faux MAGA they are. And they'll try to get him off of the primary sheets because that's the only chance they have of getting Ron in or somebody, you know? I think I think that the effect of a Trump indictment, one of the effects will be the instantaneous reveal of all the faux MAGA and the GOP establishment swamp that are still in the party. And we're going to see a battle in the primaries to whether or not to include Trump on the primary ballots. And then you'll see states argue that we can't put him on the general election ballot because he's indicted. I just want that'll be really, really interesting to see how that develops. And I bet you Trump has far more support this time next year than even he does right now.
Yeah, I think the very same, man. Whatever they do to him at this point is just going to catapult him to the moon in terms of popularity and in that avenue. So, Joe, why don't you go ahead for that last piece, man? You had an interesting take on it that I tend to agree with.
Yeah, so we have James Comey. We talked about that he's working on a crime novelist era in his work, and one of the more interesting things is he's got a Taylor Swift shirt on, and if you follow the Q drops early on, Q writes, there's going to be no civil war. Justice is going to come clean and swift. So that might be what Comey is pointing to with the Swift T-shirt. But most importantly is, where is he? He's standing in front of the famous Bean in Chicago. And is Donald Trump known for Chicago, or is Barack Obama known for Chicago? I think that is Barack Obama that is known for Chicago, right, guys?
Yeah, I love that take. I absolutely love that take insofar as comms go from that tweet.
Yep. I don't got anything better on the comms. I spent some time looking at the shirt and going through the names I think those are names of her albums.
Yeah.
On the back of the shirt, and then her tour dates. I just don't believe that Comey is wearing that shirt because he wanted to. No man would wear a Taylor Swift tour shirt because they wanted to. There's got to be a higher purpose. Maybe it's making his significant other happy by wearing that shirt. That could be. That's a higher purpose, right?
I file for divorce.
But I think it's a calm, and I think clean and swift is the best one that I can come up with. I agree, Stormy.
I agree with that as well.
Yeah, let's see what we got. So Shannon put this one together, and I heard on Fox News a lot of people were saying about the skiffs, and I was like, I bet you that is going to hit the board. And sure enough, Shannon found some really nice comms here. So what Shannon's pointing out here is that Trump conveniently spelt the word skiffs, more like the boat, and there's a skiff that's just like the Durham boat, which is also the picture in Q14. So what is a skiff? A skiff is somewhere where you can go into and speak about intelligence without anybody knowing what you're saying. It's a secure location, if you will. Usually about things that have to do with foreign matters and that type of thing. So it was Trump is going on this truth storm about that people are reporting stuff in skiffs, but he's purposely misspelling it. And I'm of the belief, and so is Shannon, that it's pointing to all the things that you see here on the screen. That it's talking about the Durham boats. That this recent talk that's getting injected into the news about skiffs is pointing us to this very important cue, one of the most important cues in my take. It's the first time that we had an image embedded into the Q post is Q14 with Washington crossing the Delaware in the Durham boat. And that's also what Shannon's pointing to is, remember, misspellings matter. And that's exactly what Trump did, was misspell the spelling for skiff in this circumstance. That also has Durham in that particular Q. And, Q linked the Durham start. The Durham start officially is also the same day that the Q post started. So that's another huge Q proof that they both started at the same time. Q let us know that, the Durham investigation was over before it started. So nothing happens that we didn't already have planned out years in advance. But I like the way Shannon put these things together regarding Q14, and I think that's exactly where Trump was pointing us.
Yeah, I agree. That was a nice find and a nice little put together by her. I really have nothing else to add on. I think this one was pretty well spotted by her, man.
I want to ask about the 5-3 and 1 through 99. Isn't that referring to like classified 1 through 99?
Yeah,
I believe so. Yeah,
but then it says 5-3. What's the 5 to 3 about?
I don't remember. I don't know if that was some sort of vote or if it was some other documents, but I would have to look back.
Just worrying because it hitting on Durham and then the classified 1 through 99, it just makes me think about the possibility of him having sealed indictments and him having sealed referrals in the annex, the classified annex of the report. And yeah, it's just the 5 through 3. I want to know what that's referring to. I'm gonna have to look at. This is a great catch. This is a great. All right, I saw this Trump truth, but I got to admit, my brain fixed skiffs for me, and I missed that misspelling. This is a great find. You said it was Shannon who found it?
Yeah, absolutely. Put up
Awesome.
her handle for her.
Can do. I'm gonna go ahead and go to the next slide, and while you get into it, Joe, I'll pop her handle up down there for everybody.
So this was from Kim, Kim _Sachs1, and she was noticing the same type of misspelling from Trump, but what she's pointing to was the timestamp. The 7:55 hits Q 7:55, and what's that talking about? That's talking about Utah, and what's going on in Utah is another center for information that we've been told is another one of these underground bunkers of information, a skiff, if you will. And what Q was talking about with the Clinton Foundation and things of that nature is we saw planes going in and out of Arkansas, and we were asking the Q if that was and related to the Clinton Foundation, and Q was really kind of directing us more towards don't have your mindset on exactly that plane going in and out of Arkansas, but think more about that the documents are going out to Utah, and out in Utah is this huge center of information that we were able to locate as far as a bunker of information that we're able to store. So that's what Kim is locating around this board, is that the timestamp 755 wasn't an accident, and that it's leading around the information that's stored out in Utah. So any further take, Just Human?
No, good one by Kim. She's always great.
Yeah, she's fantastic. That was a really good one too. I don't have anything to add on to that. She pretty much nailed that. Nice graphic too.
Yep.
This also was by Kim. This was just a real quick. The timestamp 844 happened to hit the Q booms, and we're going to get to it a little later here in the show. But that all these booms seem to all happen, this week, and probably more headed into next week. But just another coincidence, if you will, that Trump happens to truth out at 844, and that connects all over the place, either Q844 with the 4 booms there, or the timestamp on Q955 and 954 that it has the booms in it. And then we'll get into a little further that there was just some really, really crazy, wacky stuff this past week with some booms that we'll detail a little further. But this is a good prequel, if you will.
Tell you something silly.
Yeah.
So
we love it.
On Defected on Sunday night, I've only said this to Burning Bright. This is me being silly. I'm not trying to make too much of this. But on Defected last Sunday, we were talking about Trump comms, and we were talking specifically about comms where whether it's timestamp or it's a misspelling or it's in quotations. And we just had a general discussion about it. And during that discussion would be about the time that Trump put out that truth with Corvette in quotation marks. I was drinking from a coffee cup on the show that had a Corvette on it.
Nice.
So, I mean, I'm not saying Trump was watching Defected on Sunday night, but he may be trying to hint to folks that they should be watching Defected on Sunday night. Just saying.
Love it. Love it. Yeah, we've had those weird synchronicities on this show, that's for sure. So I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah. If nothing else, I always take it as like a universal or divine sign that things are on the right track and you're kind of in your energetic flow. That's how I always kind of look at that stuff.
Yeah.
Another good catch here, man. I love this one. And the more we've done this show, Joe, Trump, the board is getting hit so hard. Like it's almost impossible to keep up with it on a weekly basis. And dude, I've paid attention to Q since day one, and I've never seen the board get hit so continuously. And so, again, if nothing else, that kind of tells me that we're on track, that things are going the proper way.
So, this is a thread by John Harold, and Absolute, why don't you give this a read through? We'll get Kyle's take, and then there's a video attached to it. But if you want to read these magnificent words from John, that'd be great.
Sure, I'm glad to do it. Or as as Burning Bright likes to say, John is like actually the worst. So I guess like if you're making me do this, I'll go ahead and give it a read. Like it's no great joy to me, but here we go. Patel Patriot John Harold put up a mini thread today. He said, so the 1023 is being used as part of an active investigation. That's huge. There are 2 active investigations into the Bidens, quote, that we know of, unquote. David Weiss regarding Hunter Biden's business dealings, Robert Hur, SC, into Biden's handling of classified documents, SC, of course, being special counsel. There's a video there by our friend Storm Has Arrived, which I will play in a second, but he said, Comer says the FBI refused to hand over the 1023 form at their meeting today, and they will initiate contempt of Congress hearings this Thursday. The FBI is claiming the form is a part of ongoing investigation, which he assumes is taking place in Delaware. John then goes on to say, we learned last week that this document has origins in a tranche of documents that Rudy Giuliani provided to the Justice Department in 2020. That investigation was originally handled by Pittsburgh U.S. Attorney Scott Brady. The document has origins in a tranche of documents that Rudolph Giuliani provided to the Justice Department in 2020. People briefed on the matter said the allegations of wrongdoing by the then vice president, many originating from sources in Ukraine, were dubious enough that Attorney General William Barr in early 2020 directed that they be reviewed by a U.S. attorney in Pittsburgh, in part because Barr was concerned that Giuliani's document tranche could taint the ongoing Hunter Biden investigation overseen by the Delaware U.S. attorney. Barr told reporters at the time why he was being cautious. Quote, we can't take anything we received from Ukraine at face value, unquote. Former Pittsburgh U.S. Attorney Scott Brady oversaw the FBI investigation. Excuse me, folks. Sorry. Oversaw the FBI investigation of the Giuliani claims. The 1023 document being demanded by Comer is among the products of that investigation. John then continues saying that CNN article claims Barr had Scott Brady run the initial investigation of the Giuliani documents as to not taint the Weiss investigation in Delaware. So it's interesting. Comer says he believes that is where this investigation is taking place. Comer claiming it to be part of a Delaware investigation, Weiss, makes me think it's actually not and part of something else. Either way, what's significant is now we know Scott Brady's investigation was passed off. That is a rather massive revelation. Indeed it is. And before we get our takes on this one, I'm going to go ahead and roll this video real fast, fellas. So let's go ahead and have a look at what Comer had to say.
James Comer is now speaking at the Capitol. Let's listen.
FBI officials confirmed that the unclassified FBI-generated record has not been disproven and is currently being used in an ongoing investigation. The confidential human source who provided information about then Vice President Biden being involved in a criminal bribery scheme is a trusted, highly credible informant who has been used by the FBI for over 10 years and has been paid over 6 figures. These are facts, and no amount of spin and frankly lies from the White House or congressional Democrats can change this information. At the briefing, the FBI again refused to hand over the unclassified record to the custody of the House Oversight Committee, and we will now initiate contempt of Congress hearings this Thursday. The investigation is not dead. This is only the beginning. It appears this investigation is part of an ongoing investigation, which I assume is in Delaware.
What did I have to say about the ongoing investigation? Did they say anything about the nature of it?
All I know is there's an ongoing investigation. They confirmed there's an ongoing investigation using this information. I assume that ongoing investigation is in Delaware. I don't know that, but I assume that.
Can you break down why that's your assumption?
I'm sorry?
Can you break down why that's your assumption or what information you have to support that?
Say it one more time.
Can you break down why that's your assumption and what information you have to support that it's based in Delaware?
I assume it's Delaware. I'll put it like that.
What country foreign?
What you guys think?
Yeah, I like how he was kind of dancing around stuff on purpose. You know, it's clear he knows more than he's saying, man. Like it's obvious he knows way more than he's saying. And I think it has to do with investigations, not just into Hunter, obviously, but Biden's dealings in Ukraine, as John pointed out, and all that stuff. I think it's something bigger than he's leading on to. What's your take, Kyle?
Yeah, I think he does know more than he can say. I don't think he knows where the investigation is out of or who's on it. But I think that smirk on his face is because what he saw, what he was able to see, is so good, and he's excited about it coming out. And I also think that he and Ray and Grassley have played this so well. They've built up. I mean, imagine trying to get people interested in a FD 1023 form. Like, can you imagine going to anybody and say, dude, did you hear about the FD 1023 form? Like, only me and John are going to get excited about a document like that, right? But Comer and Ray and then Grassley here in the last couple of weeks have managed to build this up into a massive, massive story and build up the anticipation, got everybody interested in it. And Ray this entire time has been working with Comer. That's like the buried lead, is that Ray has been coordinating with Comer this entire time and has always been working with him. But Comer runs to the media to let them know Ray won't work with me. We're going to hold him in contempt. This document, Ray is withholding this document for all the right reasons. He's withholding it because the CHS is confidential and is under threat and is a high value CHS. And he's withholding it because the investigation is ongoing. Ray's hands are tied. Ray can't give this to Congress. He can't. And so Congress may hold him in contempt, but I don't think it'll stick. I don't think it'll last because Ray is doing the right thing here. But Comer's also doing the right thing in that he's doing like this information op where he's letting everybody know that there's this scheme and $5 million and a foreign national and Ukraine. And like, he's throwing all these things out there to get, it's like they're all hooks to the story, pulling you in. And I think eventually when this is revealed, I think we're all in for a big surprise. I think that the CHS very well could be Hunter Biden. It makes a lot of sense to me that the CHS in this story is Hunter Biden, because why would Barr take what Rudy gave him and not send it to Weiss? Why would he say, I need to send this to another attorney because I don't want to taint the Weiss investigation? What would taint it? Well, what would taint it is if this is Hunter in a completely different light on a completely different matter. You wouldn't give that to someone that's investigating him and his uncle for tax type stuff and a gun purchase. This is something completely different involving a $5 million bribe to influence U.S. foreign policy. It's a wholly different animal from what Weiss is dealing with. So it makes sense. And Hunter Biden isn't the potential target here, I don't think. So I think the target here is the foreign national. And there's been some talk about how this CHS is in fear of his life and doesn't want his identity revealed because he's worried that he's under threat. Well, if the foreign national is someone like, I don't know, Kolomoisky, the guy behind the Azov battalion, yeah, I'd be afraid. If Kolomoisky tried to buy my dad for $5 million and I ratted him out to the FBI, I think you have cause to be concerned for your safety here, right? So, and then Hunter, the CHS has been a CHS for 10 years. That makes sense. We know that Hunter Biden worked as either wittingly or unwittingly. We know he worked as an informant for U.S. intel agencies back in 2014. That's about 10 years. And he's been paid $200,000. That's the one that makes me think it might be someone else, because I don't know of Hunter being paid $200,000 by the FBI, but that could happen. That could be it. It's a really interesting story, this 1023 form, and I think we're going to find out it involves someone from Ukraine, maybe Kolomoisky, offering $5 million to the Bidens to do something for them.
That would be very interesting, wouldn't it?
This is just a little fun one. This one is just to show us that, you know, when I point things like this out, it's not really that it has a deep meaning to it. It's just that it's hitting the board, and that when things hit the board, that is like a nod to us all. And I'm just the messenger here. And when it hits the board and it's on track, that's just for us. You know, like Hugh says at certain points, you know, these type of nods for you guys along the way are special for you guys, so you guys know that everything is on track, basically. So what am I talking about? Well, Hannity posted that he was having Donald Trump on, and he posted this, and I took it and I retruthed it at 8 o'clock, and I said, let's see if there's a post at 8:50. Okay, so why did I think that Hannity was going to have another post at 8:50? Well, if you go to Q3235, this was back in 2019. There's a anon that wrote Hannity in 10, and Q hit it saying, yes, that's what's going to happen. So I was predicting that this was going to come full circle. And what happened? Hannity exactly followed my train of thought here. Wasn't the first time he did it. We hit it back in March when he did it in March, the same type of thing. He actually even hit the timestamp when he did it in March. But so Hannity at 10 of, he writes 10 minutes. We are just 10 minutes away from our exclusive Iowa town hall with President Donald Trump. Don't forget to tune in or set your DVR. So you don't have to like Sean. You don't have to like Fox News. That's not what this is about. But these comms are in place, and I'm just the messenger to point them out. That, you know, that's why I wrote at 8 o'clock. There's going to be something at 8:50 from Sean that's going to hit the cue board, and it did.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a huge fan of Sean. Like, I think he's kind of a dick, but it's obvious he's a part of this. Like, he's being used for comms one way or another. So, and Q pointed that out many times. We pointed that out many times in the show, so I'm not going to go over them all again. But I pay attention to him, and I especially pay attention to him when Donald Trump is on with Hannity. Just Human, before we move on to the next one, what's your take on this and Hannity in general?
Oh man, I used to be so sour on Hannity after listening to him for years, every single day. I used to never miss the first hour of his show. That first hour from like in the 2000s and the teens, that first hour was so good. And yeah, I soured on him during my black pill phase, but Stormy Patriot Joe has convinced me, using the drops and other things, that I can't deny it. Hannity is a patriot, and he may not be my flavor of news media person. That's okay. We need all flavors to try and attract all folks, right? So
I agree.
I don't doubt Hannity's patriotism at all. He may not be my flavor right now, but I think he's good.
I agree, man. I absolutely agree. Before we move to the next one, I want to hit some thank yous because we've got them kind of stacking up over here. So I want to make sure I get to these. And first, I want to point out that there's been a Burning Bright sighting in the chat, Kyle, and it's unfortunate for all the other folks in chat. I'm sorry that you guys have to deal with that.
There's a tiger on the loose.
The tiger is on the loose.
You can get him. The way you tame BB is with steak and whiskey. All right.
I could accommodate that. That's all it takes. You didn't tell me this before we went to Arizona.
That's it. You can have some too. Just bring enough for him.
I don't drink, but I'll take the steak all day.
There you go. Give him the whiskey, you get the steak.
That works. He actually said in chat, ask Kyle about the Corvette comm.
Oh, he's late to the show then.
Yeah.
He's late. Yes, he's late to the show. He missed the Corvette comm.
Yeah, he hit it. He took full credit. He said you were no part of it.
Yeah, he said you had nothing to do with it. I don't even think he mentioned his name, did he, Joe? He was,
no, he's all about his
I think
mug.
his exact words were that
mug and his mug.
Yeah, pretty much. And then Burning Bright said to me is that my apology was not accepted. What did I do, man? You know, we're both suffering hockey loss over here. Like Joe's in on this party too. We're all in mourning right now over our hockey teams, and you got to come in here and you're being mean, man. Just stop it. You're being mean. It's not called for, BB. Meanie head. All right, so on to the Rumble rants, man. We got Kurt with a Q. See him in here every week, man. He's one of our favorites. Says, good evening, fellow Patriots. Hey, Kyle, try not bringing up tense and gay community tonight. Just wanted to drop in and show support.
Whoa.
I don't even want to know. I don't even want to know, man. I don't want to know.
We had a discussion on Defected about well, I mentioned Trump expanding the GOP tent and the MAGA tent, and it made sense. But right before that, we had been talking about LGBTQ and homosexuality. So, you know,
it's a terrible segue.
It was not. I needed a segue that really forced a change there. But yeah.
Well, yeah, you know, a big tent camping outside with a rainbow in the background. You got it.
Oh yeah, that's what I mean. That was what was on my mind. He had something else on his mind, obviously.
But moving on, we got Jay Triet. Met him in Arizona. Awesome dude. It says, Kyle, your Durham analysis is second to none. Awesome seeing you here on the best Q show ever. Thanks, Abs and Stormy, for all you guys do. Appreciate it very much, Jay Triet. B. Deborah says, meeting the dollar challenge with a few extras. Thank you so much, my friend. Miss DJ Liberty says, I believe DeSantis was a JAG attorney and stationed at Guantanamo in the past. Is this significant? We can touch up on this real quick. Me and Joe went over this a few weeks back about his military experience. And I believe it was the same show where we were talking about Mueller's military experience and Sessions' military experience. I do believe it's relevant. And I'm not throwing around to beat a dead horse, but I'm with Kyle on this one too. I think the DeSantis stuff is a lot of kayfabe right now. And I said well before he announced he was running that one of his purposes may be to suck away all those rhino dollars and support. Then you're going to see him drop out and support Trump. Would be one of the biggest FUs to the deep entrenched rhino GOP you could ever possibly imagine, because they're all certainly lining up behind this guy. And at the very least, Kyle, you said this, whether or not he knows it or whether or not it's knowingly being done, he's sucking all these rhinos down into that Trump quicksand. And there's going to be no way they get out of it.
Absolutely. It's great.
We got Dirk chiming in saying Better Call Saul. That's one of my favorite shows, man. I actually, before I had the house fire and all that stuff, we used to watch a couple episodes a week with my dad. And we fell off after that fire, and we just recently got back into it. And we're almost like halfway through season 3 right now. And I literally forgot how good that show was. Mrs. A. Watley says, challenge accepted. Thank you guys for all your hard work. I'm so informed, and it's all thanks to Badlands Media. I will give $1 plus 10 for 10 people who aren't able to. That second part right there, she's so informed, and it's all thanks to Badlands. Those are my favorite kind of comments to get. That's like why we do it, to inform people and get them away from that mainstream media vice, you know. So I'm really glad for that. Thank you so much for your kind words, friend. Mediocre at best. That's a great screen name. Just Human got me through the darkest parts of this storm. His positive outlook when most others were dooming out was crucial to my ability to push through. Now I help others stay focused and happy. I love those kind of comments too, man. And they're right. You have a great ability to do that, man. You've even helped me out of a couple of personal funks when I was feeling kind of down and didn't know if I could carry on. You just do that, man. You carry a lot of light. B. Deborah again. I'm sure BBB.
You're making me tear up. I really appreciate that compliment, by the way. Thank you very much. And God bless you. I'm privileged that I was able to do that for you. I just thank you very much for letting me know. I appreciate it.
Love it. That is completely awesome, man. And we got B. Deborah again saying meeting the dollar challenge with a few extras. Freedom76 saying, thank you guys. You're very, very welcome. Thank you very much. Big Gouda, everyone please sing Jesus Loves the Little Children in your prayers tonight. It's a request from Elijah Streams. They want hundreds of thousands of patriots to join in. Easy to do. Absolutely agreed, friends. Tammy Holland says, great topic tonight. Kyle has really done us all a favor by diving into the Durham reports. This is one of my favorites on Badlands Media. Sunshine Sue says some of the deepest thinkers are Anons, 117%, my friend. Uh, Goat Herder with a Q instead of a G. The Great Awakening will tie into the 196 papers of the Urantia book. The Bald Knob Cross will be the contact location. Not sure what you're talking about, Kyle or Joe. You got a clue on that one? No, sorry, friend, but thank you nonetheless for the support and the love. Counterinsurgent says, I hate to do this, but to John, but milk toast is a calm. Howard 76 saying, what's your best guess as to how far through this movie we are? Love the discussion and analysis. I honestly don't know, but I feel like we're a lot closer to the end than the beginning. Like I wouldn't dare put like months or days or anything like that on it, but I do think we're closer to the end. And by end, I mean starting to see things majorly flip our way. I think we're a lot closer to that than we aren't. And I think we're a hell of a lot closer to it than we were in 2017. Kyle, Joe, what do you guys think about that one?
Yeah, I would say we're past 50% is what I would say.
Yeah, I would tend to agree, Joe.
Yeah, Q alludes to like an 8-year plan, and Trump recently is talking about Memorial Day of 2025 as a big calendar, and it kind of lines up to that Q post and what Trump was saying recently.
Yeah, I agree with you there, man. Moving on, Dirk McGurkin says, and this is in reference to that picture of Comey in Chicago, says that's a sculpture dedicated to Big Metallic Mike. Kurt with a Q again says, thoughts about change of batter Q drop having something to do with Trump or something along those lines. I kind of think the change of batter has to do with Biden. I'm not convinced he makes it to the 2024 election. I wouldn't be surprised to see them slide somebody like Big Metallic Mike in there, or Hillary Clinton, or even somebody way off the radar right now like Gavin Newsom. I just wouldn't be surprised to see Biden not make it to 2024. I don't mean like somebody takes him out or something, but I mean maybe a health issue or 25th Amendment, something along those lines. I think that's what that's alluding to. Joe, what do you think?
Yeah, change of batters is my take is probably something with Biden before the 2024 election.
What about you, Kyle?
Don't know. I think that Hillary Clinton will try to get in. I think she's angling for it right now. And I think it's funny. It's like a mirror to Ron DeSantis. I think she's hoping Biden gets taken out by the 25th or by Robert K. Hur or Weiss or something like that, and opens it up so that she can come in as the experienced person who should have won it years ago. And now's her time. We got to correct it. Like I could see a Trump Clinton rematch happening in 2024. I honestly think Biden's going to stay in, though. I think that the way it was set up in 2020 is how the Patriots wanted it, and I wouldn't be surprised if it plays out that same way in 2024, even if at the expense of Democrats, like them feeling like it got stolen from someone they preferred, like say RFK. Like I could definitely picture it getting stolen from RFK Jr. and that being a massive red pill to the Dems again. But Biden still being the nominee. I think the 25th will haunt Biden, but I don't think it'll actually be used on him. So yeah, I think that's how it plays out. But I could be wrong. I think if the deep state was in, I've said this before, if the deep state was in control, I think they would have it be Clinton and Newsom. It'd be Hillary as the nominee and Newsom as VP. That's what I think they would do. And I wouldn't be surprised if they try and find a way to make that happen, even at the expense of stealing it from Biden.
Yeah, agreed. Moving on, we got Von Hitch saying the PBS broadcast on Twitter that Kyle posted was wild. Make sure you all check that out. Thanks, gentlemen. You're very welcome.
Kate found that. Yeah, Kate Awakening found that.
Nice. Yeah, it was good. Raptic saying now it's old enough. Wink, wink. D Schaefer 270. Keep up the good work, guys. We got Dirk McGurkin again. Comer looked like he was about to sit on Santa's lap, didn't he, though? Like, he just looked happier than a pig in shit. That dude did not stop smiling that entire interview. Texas Jules, hey, good to see you tonight, Tex. Great show tonight, guys. Your viewpoints are invaluable to us Badlanders. Thank you so much. We truly appreciate all the support and love we get. Salt Muncher ODA saying Banana Bright. I love that. I'm going to start calling him Banana Bright now. Lance _79 saying I'm late. Did you guys cover the question asked to Q to answer? Elon posting a period, or I'm sorry, I think they're talking about Vincent Kennedy asking about a Q and Elon, or asking about a period and Elon posting a period. I don't think there's much to that, man. Obviously, I think Elon is involved, but beyond that, I don't really think there's anything going on there. Tam J 1116 says, thanks as always, guys. Love Kyle's input tonight. And lastly, Wild 117, challenge accepted. Still waiting for any kind of excavator and crane talk tonight, Keck. We can do some excavators and cranes. I mean, it's already getting kind of late though, so I feel like we'd be better served to carry on. Maybe we can have like an excavator and crane episode just for you and Banana Bright, Kyle. I'm not sure. So thank you guys again so much for your love and support and all the rants. I see we've got almost 10,000 watching live right now. If you guys could please go down there and smash that like button for us and for Badlands, we'd certainly appreciate it. And before we get back to it, we got one more rant that just came in, freedom spelled with a PH17. I tell people we were living through the second greatest story in history, and it connects directly to the greatest story in history. You guys help all of us make that connection. Thank you so much for the kind words and the love, friend. That's what we're here for, and we're so happy to hear all that stuff. And again, guys, you know, I say it a million times an episode, but it's because I mean it. Like, thank you so much for your love and support. It really does floor us and humble us. And Kyle said it perfectly earlier. We are truly privileged and honored to be able to do this for you guys. So, you know, without stalling anymore, let's go ahead and carry on with it.
All right. So right before our show, earlier today at 12:42 p.m., Trump put up this video. We'll play the video, but when you're listening to what Trump has to say, keep some of these Q drops in mind when he's talking about Q694. What if cures already exist? What about the billions of dollars public and private government money provided to fund cure development? Sheep, these people are sick. Q. Going on to Q735. And Anon asks, how long do we have to wait for the cures of cancer and other sicknesses? Q replies, chatter amongst those in control has begun. They know we know, which means the public will know. Release prior to cover up, public informed, and collapse which option? So, you know, Q is giving Big Pharma some options there. Q1010, Pharma classified -D. Water, air, chemicals push for home use cleaning, causing cancer. Baby on the floor, touches in mouth, the start. Talks about vaccines, tobacco, opioids, ultimate win, death plus money. So these are the key Q drops that Q is letting us know how sick and twisted Big Pharma is. They need us sick. They need us dependent. We are just basically sheep and money machines for the deep state. And that we have the control to flip a lot of this. And let's listen to what Donald Trump has to say tonight when he put this video together, and we'll circle back.
Here we go.
In recent decades, there has been an unexplained and alarming growth in the prevalence of chronic illnesses and health problems, especially in children. We've seen a stunning rise in autism, autoimmune disorders, obesity, infertility, serious allergies, and respiratory challenges. It's time to ask, what is going on? Is it the food that they eat, the environment that we live in, the overprescription of certain medications? Is it the toxins and chemicals that are present in our homes? Every year we spend hundreds of billions of dollars to treat these chronic problems rather than looking at what is causing them in the first place. Too often our public health establishment is too close to Big Pharma. They make a lot of money, Big Pharma, big corporations and other special interests, and does not want to ask the tough questions about what is happening to our children's health. If Big Pharma defrauds American patients and taxpayers or puts profits above people, they must be investigated and held accountable. When I'm back in the White House, I will establish a special presidential commission of independent minds who are not bought and paid for by Big Pharma, and I will charge them with investigating what is causing the decades-long increase in chronic illnesses. I understand Big Pharma, I believe, better than anybody else. I know where they're coming from. And then I will ask them to publish recommendations for how every American child can have a safe and healthy childhood. This is a conversation that is long overdue, and it's a conversation that American families deserve. American families must have this conversation, and they must have a leader, a president, who can do something about this problem. And I will do that. Thank you.
It's not wrong. And again, I think there was kind of some stuff behind the curtain there talking about these medications and so forth and so on. A lot of people ask about his support of the vaccine, and I'm not going to go into a huge thing here because that conversation could take another 45 minutes to an hour. But basically, if you think you had access to more information than he did, you're probably really wrong. And I think that when it comes to Trump pushing the vaccine, you have to understand that if he didn't do that, we'd still be under lockdowns and mask mandates. There was a certain portion of this country, even righties, that were not going to come out of their house until there was a vaccine to take care of this thing. Beyond that, at the very start of it, Trump told you everything you needed to do to fight off COVID. He told you about hydroxychloroquine. He told us about ivermectin. He told us about zinc and vitamin C. And he told us about Regeneron. He gave us the correct options first. And whether or not you want to hear it and whether or not you get upset at me for saying it, I really don't care. Nobody in this country was literally forced to take it. Yes, there were mandates. Yes, there were people that were forced to either take this or lose your livelihood. I get that. I'm empathetic to it. But when it comes down to it, Trump doing what he did and making sure it stayed under an emergency use authorization made sure that that vaccine could not be mandated upon civilians nationwide. We're at war, folks, and he took the option with the least catastrophic option available. And beyond that, if he came out from the get-go saying the vax wasn't going to work, then they would have nailed him up to the wall, impeached him, and then filed charges on him for killing people because he wasn't providing a vaccine. He really took the least catastrophic option. And beyond that, COVID's not what a lot of folks think it was. If Hillary would have gotten in, we would have had a real virus, would have had lockdowns for 10 years. You would have had a mass depopulation event. Me and Joe have said it before. Joe is the one that got me on this one, but COVID may very well have been white hat stuff from the get-go, so we could start seeing all these changes we're seeing now and usher in a lot of waking up on a mass scale, because COVID is the one thing that has kind of forced a lot of waking up in my personal life that I never thought I would have seen from friends and people I'm around. So it's there, I'm just simply saying don't dismiss any perspective or notion within this great awakening that we're seeing. And so when you talk about him pushing a vaccine, I know people were hurt by it, but again, we're at war. And if the other option was a legitimate Ebola-like hemorrhagic virus that would have wiped out half the earth, with the end result being a vaccine mandated on every single soul on this planet, if it was either that or what we got, I'm going to go with what we got 100 out of 100 times.
Amen.
One of the interesting things when Trump was doing rallies and such for like re-election and even in 2018, he was always talking about, cures for cancer. And he would always say it's about 8 years away and such. And it always stuck in my mind. Why is he giving that type of time frame? And these cues all point to it. And then here on the video where he's saying when he's president again, he's going to, put together a panel and come up with these solutions. So I wouldn't be surprised if all this takes place during Trump administration number 2. And Q lets us know basically, we're going to force it out of Big Pharma, that they have some tough choices ahead. But it has to be done in the time frame that they want it to be done. But I really think Trump smashed the heck out of these cues tonight in that clip. Everything here from, he's even got it in his headline there, addressing the rise of chronic childhood illnesses. And if you go over to Q1010, baby on the floor, hand and mouth to start, a lot of things that these cues are pointing to, he hit on step by step by step. So I'm interested to, get the cures released and get things going on the other side of Trump administration too.
Yeah, definitely. And it spoke of cures being released too. And we've seen with ivermectin, especially, we've seen tons of reports, especially amongst the Anon community and people, not just the Anon community, but doctors that were generally disregarded during COVID because they spoke out. But we've seen research and studies that ivermectin paired with fenbendazole is pretty much a cancer killer. And so when you know that, then you start to understand why they attacked ivermectin so hard, why they started calling it horse paste. Because as Joe pointed out, a cured patient doesn't make Big Pharma any money. They don't want people knowing that stuff like ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine can really take care and heal a lot of things. So that makes me think of the cures will come out as well. And I look forward to the day that they all come out, because I think, Joe, I know you have, my wife's been, her family's been touched by just everybody watching, everybody involved has had at least somebody they know or a family member in their life touched by cancer and had to fight that. So, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. I would love to see these cures come out one day in full.
All right, now we're into our crazy segment of the show. All right, so where do I start? Okay, so the other day, let me see. This is, I guess, yeah, on the 4th, 2 days ago. So first thing I posted was, I've seen some odd things going on that have my attention, and it's pointing to Q 1440 with the 4 booms, a week to remember, and Q 1846, the same amount of booms, and it says, next week, this Q is a story about a plane that went down, and Q said to dig for the location, and it turned out to be this crazy island off the coast of Seattle, and that particular plane in the picture there in Q 1846 is a plane Q 400, nice number. So what did we have going on? I said we had really strange news going on with these booms getting reported in DC, and this plane went down, and I'm sure there's going to be more information to come. And that's what the Gateway Pundit is pointing to, these huge explosions that we heard. Some people were saying it might be like an earthquake, or maybe it was these planes getting scrambled to chase down this crazy plane that was doing a U-turn for no apparent reason. And then this plane goes down in these hills in Virginia, and the FAA says where it went down, what the situation is. So this was my first take, right when these stories were breaking all at once. I was saying, there's something connected here with these booms, this weird plane, these Qs. There's going to be more to come. And the Q 1440 was a day before his Delta. It was June 3rd. All these weird things were happening on June 4th, and it gets a lot more strange as we go on. So let's look to the next slide. Absolute. Okay, so what did we find out? And this was a collaboration with myself and Patriots Don't Sleep was helping put together some of the things. So what Patriots Don't Sleep and I were tracking, just like I was saying with that original post, is let's see what happens on the location. Location is important, because that's what trained me on the last time. And there was 2 more times. We're going to talk about another one tonight that was odd with planes, but the location in that other one with that Q400 plane where it crashed ended up to be this really strange island with nothing but billionaires owning it and on it, and a lot of pedo connections on that particular island. So what I was pointing to is, an Absolute knows, because I was talking to him before all these comms came out. I was like, watch what happens with this plane. The location is going to be the key. And sure enough, the FAA points to Montebello, Virginia, is where this plane allegedly goes down. So right there in the screen in the middle, you have Montebello, but what's all around it? Castle Rock, Rock Castle, Castle Rock Mountain. So why is that important? Well, you go to the exact Q Delta on 4414, June 4th, the exact day where this plane went down, and you go to the bottom line, and what's it say? Castle_Rock. And then the Q to the right, 4413, also an exact Q Delta. And what's it have? Castle Rock. And then today Delta today, June 6th, 4433, bottom right, it has the picture of the American flag, Castle_Rock, Godspeed. So what the heck? Just what I was suggesting, that this weird plane that kind of did a U-turn that nobody can figure out. There's all these crazy stories about, a passed out pilot or an autopilot. Nothing makes sense. They release these, fighter jets that are chasing it. And then you look at the flight pattern, and that plane, this odd plane has no flight change at all. There's weird people that are connected to the plane that are attached to NRA and whatnot. And there's conflicting stories about their family. So to me, the Q operation is 80% dark and 20% light. I could spot the light pretty well and bring you the comms, and just look at this board. I mean, hello, look how many times Castle Rock hit these Qs, and look where the freaking plane went down. Okay. So if anybody wants to tell me this wasn't comms, I don't know what else to show you. I mean, I'm showing you the comms. What it all means, I don't know. I'm not on the Q team. Absolute and Kyle, we're not on the Q team. But if you're going to tell me that this wasn't, orchestrated and planned, I don't know what else to show you.
I agree, 117%, man. I just refuse to believe this kind of thing down to this detail is a coincidence. Kyle, yesterday you had shared a post, I believe it was from Karma Patriot, where they were kind of positing that perhaps White Hat stopped something, a bigger false flag or something in that avenue. I tend to agree with that theory. What are your quick thoughts on this one, Kyle?
Yeah, shout out to Karma Patriot. She's been digging on this event harder than anybody I know, and I've been reading what she's found, and she's gone deep. I want to say that this is one of those types of connections that in events that I struggle with and I'm very apprehensive of. I don't like connecting disasters, let's say, to the drops like this. And I was not feeling it. But I couldn't help it when I first saw Joe post about the site where it went down, I was like, oh man, that's a hell of a coincidence if it's just a coincidence. But then you look at the spread of all the drops on this same date and around this date mentioning Castle Rock, that I'm like, man, are there as many Castle Rocks in this area as there are drops mentioning Castle Rock on these dates?
I don't know.
It's just, I can't ignore it. Now, one way I can entertain this, or one thing I can add to this discussion, is that as a plane watcher myself, and I don't do it a whole lot, but I do it some, I have seen aircraft get spoofed on the boards before. I have been there live watching an aircraft show up as one thing and then change to show up as something else.
Right.
It can happen. People can put fake aircraft on those radars, and if it goes into the ADS-B system, then all of the flight tracking apps are going to pick it up. And my favorite example of it is that on the day of the Afghanistan withdrawal, someone spoofed Trump's aircraft being in Kabul. And Trump didn't fly from Miami or wherever, Palm Beach, all the way to Kabul and back on that day. We know that. But someone still managed to put it on the flight radar apps. Mm-hmm. And I think back to that, and I'm just like, if they wanted to pull something off like this as a comm, they could do it. They could totally do it, and they could make the world believe it, and the newspapers would run with it without checking anything. And by the time people backtrack trying to debunk it, quote unquote, or whatever, it'd be so far gone and so far, it would be, cemented in the public's mind. It wouldn't even matter if someone figured it out. So I think this hits, man. And it's one that I have to be drug along to, but I think it hits. It's fascinating. What it means, like you guys, I don't know.
Right.
Yeah, I agree. It hits. I don't know what it means, but it absolutely is a comm.
And here's a slightly different take. When I was researching, for the Castle Rock stuff, yeah, if you could put the graphic back up, this one, this came over from, what's it say? All right, so it says space cut at a time. Space. What's that handle? Absolute. Can you read it?
I can't. I don't have my glasses yet.
Space TA time. All right, so that's his Truth Social. Give him a follow. This is pretty crazy stuff he put together as well. So what he's seeing here is a lot of that we were talking about, that same Gateway Pundit article talking about the booms and the jets. He's connecting to the June 4th Q post, and we're gonna play this video from Scavino. Scavino put up a tweet back in 2020 that has this lightning storm, And it's really cool that he was able to connect the dots here, because Q reposted it June 4th. So that hit the boom delta with that. Then he's following it over to the timestamps on the particular Q 1869, which leads over to some things around the Clinton Foundation and things of that nature. But the booms and the explosions that we were talking about, possible earthquake caused by, Department of Defense, flight sonic boom. He's finding in the Q drops that it hit the timestamp of 6:04, and he's using that to talk about this particular Q that's talking about a message from a plane, and that it's rogue runaway plane ? How fast did the interception occur? Think missile intercept, think aircraft outside standard deviation. So I think this was a really cool connect. And then he also did the June 3rd booms like I had. And he also went back to June 2nd, where I didn't catch this one, that Q actually put that boom graphic in the June 2nd, and it had to do with the White House had its lights off, dark to light. So what this Anon was putting together was June 2nd had the booms, June 3rd had the booms, June 4th had the booms, and he coordinated all these different things with slightly different takes with the White House, the scurrying of the jets, that we're going to play to Scavino, which was the video that we're going to play is Scavino's retweeting a DC weatherman. And, I live in Tampa, Florida. It's the lightning capital of the world. That's why we call ourselves the Tampa Bay Lightning hockey team. And I've never seen a lightning that we're going to show you that Scavino put up from the weatherman, but Q reposted it in a delta of June 4th. So that's why this Anon is connecting all these dots. And I just thought it was, just another kind of deeper take of what we just went through with the booms in the plane, that he's attaching the booms in the plane, plus he's attaching the lights off in the White House, and this Scavino retweet of this Q boom with a Q-shaped lightning rod that also hits the Washington Monument. So, and he's got in there in the middle stuff about a rogue plane, missing plane, and an intercept, and that's kind of what hit the news that day. So again, this is just really wacky stuff. But if we either want to expand on the take or play that video from Scavino first, whatever you guys want to do.
Okay, I'll go ahead and roll that video. Before I do that, Kyle, thank you for dropping that in the private chat there. The user's name is @spaceoutahtime. So SPACEOUTTATIME. Go give that fella a follow over there on Truth. Kyle, thank you for that, my friend. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the lightning video Scavino posted. Joe had a suggestion to loop it, which was a great suggestion because it's only like a 6-second video, and if it goes once, you don't really get to see the cues being made. If it repeats a few times, you do. So pay attention to the lightning strike. It's pretty crazy.
So you can't make it up. Like I said, I've never seen a lightning shape of a Q before, but that happened, and then it coincides with hitting the Washington Monument, which a lot of people think is kind of a deep state symbol in itself. And Q posted that and said biblical. So I think there was some messages sent there, and it has a deeper meaning when you think about that. Q reposted it on June 4th. And then we had all these crazy booms as well. So great job by this Anon putting those things all together. That tweet by Scavino with that particular, I was like, when I first saw that, I was like, wow, this is bigger than I can imagine. And that, we are at biblical times. If we can make things shoot from the sky like that and occur in the form and hit the Washington Monument in the shape of a Q, this is crazy things. But what's your take around the board here on these connects, Kyle?
What really stands out to me is the White House blacked out, and the combined with the week to remember. that week, I think is when Trump signed off on what we call devolution. I think that it is that first week of June, the White House under attack with the rioters and Antifa and Chinese agents and other foreign agents out there in that crowd. White House going dark. Now I can only guess as to why they made the White House go dark, but considering the threat they were under, it makes sense for the White House to go dark to give security better visuals outside of the White House to be able to more easily pick people up, and so that the threats couldn't as easily look at the White House and what security they had deployed. But I just think that if you ask me why is that a week to remember, that's why. Because I think Trump and the Q team signed off on what would become the continuity of government orders that we're under right now.
Sweet.
And
nice
I think this all
answer.
hits. I think it just adds to this pile that there's something to this crash and this boom. It's all hitting.
So we are on to our Elon Musk segment of the show, and he's hitting this great Twitter account, End Wokeness, and Elon's been hitting it a lot lately. But this was a great find. It's back in 2017, where these BlackRock executives are talking about forcing behaviors on companies to get desired results. And you fast forward to 2023, and you think about all these woke companies and why they're walking the plank, and they're going with transgen ads and all these things that you just know aren't popular. But these people are pulling the strings from the money side, that they control everything. And if it takes walking these companies out on a plank, they'll do it. So we have that video, and I think it's a great find. I think it's about a minute long. Do we have it to play, Absolute?
We do. I'm going to go ahead and give that a roll.
You now make a point of that's an investment criteria for you.
Well, behaviors are going to have to change, and this is one thing we're asking companies. You have to force behaviors, and at BlackRock we are forcing behaviors. 54% of the incoming class are women. We added 4 more points in terms of diverse employment this year. And what we are doing internally is, if you don't achieve these levels of impact, your compensation could be impacted. Okay,
we're doing the same thing.
And so it's just you have to force behaviors, and if you don't force behaviors, whether it's gender or race or just any way you want to say the composition of your team, you're going to be impacted. And that's not recruiting, it is development, as Ken said. And ultimately, it's still going to take time, but I am just as much shocked as Ken is that we have not seen more opportunities, and we're going to have to force change.
Yeah. My dude is literally sitting there telling everybody what they want. Like, that's about as evil as it gets, in my opinion, man. That was crazy.
Yeah, that's up there with that. What is his name? That Yuval Harari or whoever it is. That's like,
yeah.
Is that his name? That really sinister rat-looking guy. This is who the elitists are. I'm watching that and I'm like, okay, when we talk about controlling elites who think they are better than you and that they can dictate your life because their ends are superior to whatever your ends might be. That's who we're talking about, are these people. They believe the ends justify the means. I also refer to them sometimes as the utopianist. They believe in their utopia that they are creating for themselves. And you are a means to an end as far as them achieving that utopia. You're also not worthy of their utopia because you're not elite like they are. And they will force your behaviors. This is what they have been doing and will continue to do until we stop them. Elon Musk highlighting this is grade A red pilling by him. It is perfect. Elon Musk is doing lots of things like this. He'll do stuff that'll kind of upset us a little bit, like, I don't really like it that Elon Musk did that. But then he drops something like this. And remember, he's the most popular, most followed person on Twitter. He has a massive audience who's watching every single thing he does. And he knows it. And he's exercising that reach. In my opinion, he's exercising it expertly. just enough to put it out there, not too much. It's great.
So over on the right, I kind of put this one as, it's a little funny, but also it has some deeper connects. So Q told us a couple different things in the drops. Q told us that AI is very important and to look for it in the comms and look for it in the future. And Q also mentions the movie in the Matrix a couple of times. So that Musk is hitting this particular, this meme where it's AI is the future red pill. AI is going to kill us all, and tech bros. And then you got the in the Matrix. Did you take both pills? And he's laughing. So, Musk uses humor, Musk uses memes, and there's going to be a point where we figure out, exactly what's going on in the future with AI technology. Can it be used for bad? Of course, just about anything can be used for bad if you let it. But, Q said pay strict attention that AI is huge, and Musk has his hands in it. So we'll have to see where it goes. And I think when he clicks on these little memes that talk about AI and it happens to hit, the Q comms a bit within the Matrix and the red pill and all that, I just noted it as something of interest for the future.
Yeah, I do the same, man. I puts a whole lot of eyes on stuff every time he does that, man.
So we are on to the AZ State Senator Champ section of the show. And why don't you give that read on the upper left there for me, Absolute?
Sure. She had tweeted out, the evidence is proving that safe and effective was blatant misinformation. There was no data proving it was safe or effective, and now the data is proving the exact opposite. This isn't about politics. This is about the truth. And she was replying to a tweet that says, I challenge anyone to listen to the information presented and not have their confidence shaken regarding vaccine safety. And then below that, she had shared an article from Just the News, DoD bait and switch with emergency and licensed COVID vaccines. And over there on the right, she says on her truth, we do not have a vaccine currently on the market for COVID-19 that is licensed and FDA approved. That's correct. Watch a chilling exchange between myself and at Peter McCullough, MD, during the novel coronavirus Southwestern Intergovernmental Committee. And we do have that video. Joe, do you want me to go ahead and roll that before we get your takes on it?
Yeah, but real funny. Novel Corona Southwestern Intergovernmental Committee. What's those initials, Absolute?
Looks like nothing. Oh, I'm sorry. NCSWIC. If you put an S and a W at Southwestern.
Whoa.
Nothing can stop what it's coming. Weird. Weird.
All right, let's go ahead and have a look at the video real quick. It's a short one, but it's a good one.
We do not have a vaccine currently on the market for COVID-19 that is licensed and FDA approved.
That's correct.
We no longer have an emergency pandemic. It has been declared over.
That's correct.
We still have mandates that are across this country in different sectors for this vaccine. Is that correct?
That's correct.
That was boss. That was boss right there. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. We Absolute and I have been highlighting Senator Champ each week. We're going to continue to. She's fighting the fight. So quick background on her is she was a career OR nurse for like 30 years. She has a huge background, a brilliant medical background, and she was forced out of her career. She refused the vax, and she just took a step forward and said, I'm going to make it so this doesn't happen to other people in the future. Ran for government. Basically took the mission from General Flynn for local action, national impact, and she's fighting for, number one against all these vax and mandates and nonsense and all that. Put that to rest. She's fighting for a secure border. She's fighting against election fraud. She's trying to get Carrie Lake, back where she belongs with her race. So we shout out Senator Champ each week, and we're going to continue to. But she's a great patriot, endorsed by Donald Trump, and she's on a mission.
Absolutely,
she's awesome.
Man.
God bless her.
Yeah, she's great, man. She's fighting the good fight over there in Arizona for sure.
So on to the Carrie Lake. So we have Champ and Lake, two great gals in Arizona. Love these gals. But right here, over here on the right, she has this. She posts on her truth. Have you heard this song yet? 8 million votes, my ass. a single by the Truth Bombers. So I don't know if we have a video or just a little song clip, but what do we have for that one, Absolute?
I have a really small snippet of it, so I'll go ahead and play that, my friend.
Love the meme too.
Right? I love that meme. I'm kind of gonna go steal that and just save it. Here's the video, my friends.
If you would have told me 2 years ago, 3 years ago, that I would be in the middle of a political movement, I would have said, put down Hunter's crack pipe. Right now.
And it goes on to say 81 million votes my ass like a multitude of times. It's not the best song in the history of songs, but it is hilarious, and it's a great troll move against the left. I love it, man.
Yeah. So how the song goes is like a quote by her, and then 81 million votes my ass. Another quote by her, 81 million votes my ass. So it's a pretty funny song. But yeah, we're with you, Carrie Lake. We don't believe there was 81 million votes for Biden, and we don't believe you lost either. So we're pulling in both things. And then further proof over here on the right, there's a report released that a driver vindicates and confirms he hauled a trailer of ballots from New York to Pennsylvania. So where's all the mainstream media covering this, right? What's your guys' take on this confirming of election fraud? People getting votes shipped from New York to Pennsylvania in 2020.
I'm gonna just point out that in the picture, my dude is wearing a Jared Allen jersey, who is number 17. So there's that, or Josh Allen, sorry.
Yeah.
That's what I noticed at first. But of course, I mean, we all knew this was happening, and it's starting to trickle out more and more in these kind of articles coming out and these kind of things being found out and people being found guilty of this stuff or admitting to it, confessing to it. So it's no surprise. Like it just drip, drip, flood, man. This stuff's going to keep coming out until there's just an avalanche of it that's not stopping. That's my opinion on it.
We got whistleblowers there in the middle of that, which was a key Q drop.
Oh, we do.
Yeah, I remember there was a non who got queued talking about whistleblowers. Can't remember his name. Stormy Patriot Joe. That was a really key Q drop that was mentioned. But no, it keeps coming around full circle. Carrie Lake, we're with you 110, 117%.
Absolutely. So that brings us to the end of the comms. We're about to get into the Q proof, but before I do that, I want to give a couple more thank yous that we've gotten over on Rumble, and I'm going to hit the foxhole real quick too. We got Tattooed Teacher again saying watching what happened to Bernie while reading the Podesta emails was huge red pill in 2015 and again in 2020 and again in 2022 and 2024. I like Kyle's thoughts there that by all rights it should go, like say we're this year, this time next year. Everybody's like, yeah, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is kicking his ass. There's no way he's not getting the nomination. And then Biden somehow gets the nomination. I could totally see that being used for even more of a microscope on what's happening. I've said on the show plenty of times, Kyle, you and I even talked about this in Arizona, that I believe that 2024 is going to happen. I think that Trump is going to get elected. I think it's going to be like 2016, a clean election. It's going to be damn near a landslide. And what you're going to have is 2016 and 2024 with these Trump landslides, and then 2020 with this dude that never left his basement getting 81 million votes. And the fraud of 2020 is going to become so glaringly obvious that nobody's going to be able to spin it or keep denying it. And that may very well be part of what Q was talking about when he was talking about the mainstream media is not going to be able to deny it or spin it anymore. And we covered that drop a few weeks ago, I believe, in the review section, Joe. Moving along, we have Nomad. Like it. Great show, guys. You should show the Christie buffet video Trump just posted to close it off with a laugh. He indeed did do that, and I will go pull that video in a minute. Actually, when I get done reading these rants, I will give that video a little play. You ask around these parts, and you shall receive. And hopefully, me and Joe will have some news regarding that somewhat soon. I don't want to let the cat out of the bag, but we're certainly going to try to fulfill a couple more requests that our fans have had out there, man. You guys are great. So anytime you make a request or have some advice for the show or want to see something on the show, we try our very best to accommodate you. And my friend that just asked about the Chris Christie video that Trump posted, let's go ahead and give that a look because it's pretty hilarious. And I don't think anybody's opposed to a laugh, right? Here we go.
And it was about our country and its future. And I wondered what our choice was going to be. We're going to be small, or are we going to be big?
You know, every time I see that dude, I have that Family Guy skit in my head where Stewie's following the fat guy with the tuba. And it's like, "Wa-bum, ba-ba-ba-ba-bum, ba-bum, ba-bum, ba-ba-ba-ba-bum, ba-bum." That's how I see Chris Christie, man. Moving on, we got Rico 6 saying Fauci lied, CDC, NIH, FDA, pharma lied, people died. Exactly. And I think that was part of the reason Trump put Fauci up front. People fail to realize that Trump's not a doctor. He's not giving anybody medical advice. He's not telling people what to do. He's got people that are supposed to do that. And those are the people that failed, not Trump. According to taking care of his country's citizens, Trump did what he had to do to try to offer all means available for treatment for a pandemic, with the air quotes really big right there. Moving along, we got Christy Lou, who says, I'd love to see a cure for MS, was diagnosed in 2008 and it sucks. Never thought I'd wake up sick one day and never get better. Our prayers are certainly with you, friend. I dislike reading that, but I appreciate the rant and the support. And I'm so sorry that you have to go through that. And I certainly hope that some kind of cure is released for that sooner than later. And you certainly have our thoughts and prayers, friend. Thank you again for the support. Texas Jules saying, did you guys hear the family that died in the plane crash were big Trump donors? I did. And Joe was saying before the show came on air that maybe perhaps there may not have even been a plane crash. Maybe perhaps what we saw was a couple big Trump supporters, their names or likenesses anyway, were going to be used maybe for some kind of a false flag attack involving that plane, you know. Oh, look what the crazy right-wing MAGA NRA supporters did. They flew a plane into such and such. So maybe something like that was averted. We just don't know. It's like me and Joe said, and Kyle as well. We saw the comms with the plane. We just have no idea what it means yet. We just know that it hit the hell out of the board. So it was a something. And it may be a while before we know what that was. Raptic saying, can't Castle passing through check 100%. I'm a chess fan as well. And so that it's a chess strategy. And what he's saying is that you can't get your king out of the way if he's in check. You can't use a castling maneuver to get your king out of check. And that's a very, very good point brought up, my friend. Thank you for that. Postmiz saying, great show, learning about Q 1 week at a time. Love Badlands Media, all of you, but you three, Banana Bright, John, and G Money are my big faves. Peace and love to all. Go MAGA, Trump 2024 or before. 100%, my friend. Love all my friends here at Badlands, including the ones you named, Banana Bright, John, even though John's like kind of the worst, and G Money too. You know, Kyle, I love everybody over here at Badlands, man. We all get along well. We're a pretty tight-knit unit. It's an honor to work next to you guys. Carrot Top 55 saying, chemo was a horrible experience for me. Now I find out ivermectin cures ovarian cancer. I'm disgusted. $13,000 for one bag of IV therapy. The other $666. 666 in my face, evil. I'm in remission now. So glad to hear you're in remission, friend. You have our prayers, and we hope that your health will continue to get better and you return to full health sooner than later. Thank you so much for the support. Dirk McGurgan, he's talkative tonight, man. I love Dirk. I love it when he leaves a rant because he's got one of my favorite screen names out there, man. It says, Fink is the werewolf of Wall Street. Well said, my friend. And over here on the foxhole, we got Cindy4557 gifting us the phone. Says, drive by love. Love you, Cindy. You're always in the chats and boosting us up. We got Michelle Ann giving us a can, and Karen Allen 43 as well giving us a can. Thank you, folks, so much for the support and the love. And I've got just a couple more that just rolled in over on Rumble. We got Julie JN saying, JH has been a fantastic addition tonight. You three are so gracious and humble. Love all the information. Thank you for that compliment, my friend. I really appreciate that. Really nice to hear that one. And Sammy the Squirrel again saying, Trump always said it was your choice whether to take the vaccine or not. 117%, Sammy. And I understand it's a sore subject for folks who may have lost family or may have lost jobs. I get that. It doesn't mitigate the pain of that. It doesn't mitigate that it happened, but it still, the fact remains, it was your choice, and nobody was literally held down to a bed and injected with this thing against their will. Everybody who took it, even people I know, did so of their own volition. So thank you, friends, again for the support and the love. We appreciate it more than we can adequately express. Just know that we love all of you and appreciate all of you. So that being said, that brings us into one of the more popular segments of the show. Here we go. Ready or not, how you like me now? Watch that.
All right, this is a pretty complex one, and I try to pick out a Q proof that kind of maps into today's comm. So we talked a lot about this weird plane story, and we were just talking about it. So it made me think back to 2018, where we had a pretty similar situation. It wasn't a plane crash, but there was heavy plane comms. And at the end of it, we still don't know exactly what happened, but there's no doubt at the end of this story that Q had extreme knowledge, gave us foreknowledge that we were able to kind of dissect and figure it out as we go. So let's take it here. So Q 1308 was on May 2nd, 2018, and Q posted this picture of a plane flying, and you can see in the bottom left, it's you could tell it's a JetBlue airline because of the tip. That's the logo on the tail fin, if you will, of a JetBlue plane. It's pretty distinctive. And then on the right, Q is starting to show some of the surrounding mountains in the terrain, and we'll get into that in a bit. So let's move forward. And what Q is saying here is Q put up these different pictures, and this one is obviously on the tarmac and in the middle there, and it's right behind the plane. And what Q is referencing is, you know, how would you get that particular picture? Well, you would have to have the plane right behind it, and then later we get an access to the cockpit and the frame of shot, expand your thinking. And then on the right, Q is talking about a flight from San Francisco to JFK, flight A, the plane model A321 direct. So a direct flight from from San Francisco to JFK Airport in New York. So let's keep rolling. So again, the picture in the middle, thank you, United States Secret Service, and it's pulling up to a plane, and looks like, you know, the situation on the right is also an aerial shot of a particular area. And when we were mapping this out, we were able to see that this particular plane pattern was from San Francisco to New York. And that was what Q was pointing us to. And go ahead and roll to the next slide. So then here's what happened. On June 26, 2018, we had this extremely strange story where a plane was forced back to JFK after a pilot, he makes a mistake and says he was being hijacked. And that flight 1623 with 158 people on board was scheduled to leave at 7:30 p.m. and land at 10:52 p.m. LAX. Finally took off 11:23, expected to touch down in Los Angeles. Boom, boom, boom. You know, shortly before departure, flight 1623 from New York JFK to LA experienced radio issues. The crew was ability to communicate. It was a false alarm. Was sent to JFK Tower, a false alarm that sent about 160 agents into this plane, all armed. And I think we have the video to show here, Absolute, right?
Yes, we do. Let's go ahead and take a look at it.
A police officer swarmed New York's JFK airport on concerns about a possible hijacking. Passengers on the JetBlue flight to Los Angeles put their hands in the air as heavily armed officers came on board. But it turns out the plane's radio failed just before takeoff, and the pilot mistakenly keyed in a code that signaled a hijacking. When the pilot held up a piece of paper with his cell phone number on it, police called, and that was when he was able to communicate it was just a false alarm.
A false alarm. Okay. How do you not know if your plane's being hijacked or not, dude?
So roll that back in your head. Okay, so May 2nd, Q is giving us a JetBlue plane, and then also the aerial of exactly where this plane was the track of this plane. So Q gave us the JetBlue flight, the flight pattern from California to JFK Airport, and then 6 weeks later, what happens? June 26, 2018, we have this absolutely strange story on the JFK tarmac, where all these agents rushed into this plane with guns ablazing, you know, holding up everybody with their hands up in the air, all with this quote unquote false alarm from the pilot. Again, we don't know exactly what happened here. We may never know, but what we do know is that's a banger Q proof that 6 weeks in advance, Q gave us JetBlue, gave us the flight, gave us the aerial shots, gave us, the behind the plane scene, and gave us, even when that plane was in track, there was pictures from a plane tracking that plane. So all probably was a military operation. That's why Q thanked the United States Secret Service and all that type of thing. But it's complicated. I understand that, and I picked this one because of the strange plane comms that we had on June 4th. But everything I saw on June 4th was reminding me of this scene, and there's been others, but you can't deny that on May 2nd, 2018, Q was giving us the heads up of a situation with JetBlue, JFK Airport, and then what the hell happens right here? This strange hijacking. You saw all the trucks out there and all this armed FBI agents coming on aboard. So it was like what Kyle was pointing to earlier was a false flag averted, maybe, but was somebody on that plane that we needed to secretly take? Maybe. We're not sure. Like Q keeps 80% of it in the dark. But again, that 20% right there, just like the other plane story that we hit on tonight, it's pretty undeniable that Q didn't just randomly take a picture and throw it out there of a JetBlue airplane and specifically show us the map of that California flight and point out, hey, check out the direct flight from California to JFK. And then all of a sudden we have this raid on the tarmac at JFK Airport. It's not a coincidence.
Yep. You know what I have to say to that, right, Joe? You know what's about to happen?
Ooh.
God, I love that thing. I really, really love that. Before we move on to our,
I want to get Kyle's take on it. Kyle, I'm not sure if you ever kind of saw those connections before, but what you think of that one?
No, I had never connected that together. But that U.S. Secret Service drop with them sitting there and getting thanked, it's always made me think, what was going on there? And the Secret Service does their own investigating. They have the ability to do their own investigations, arrest people, all that kind of stuff. And you wouldn't call in the Secret Service for just a JetBlue flight with an emergency.
Right.
There's a reason they were there. And that reason is probably super classified and sealed. And we have yet to find it out, but I can't wait to find out. It would be a good cover for the Secret Service if they wanted to get on that plane and take something or something off to manufacture an incident like this, to force it to land so that they could get someone. So that's where my mind goes. Yeah, great connection. I'd never put all that together. That's great.
It's fantastic, right? It's and like you said, the Secret Service isn't just gonna like hop on board an airplane and pull people off or go through those kind of means for maybe somebody who's being a little loud or aggressive on a flight. That's usually why there are U.S. Marshals on every domestic United States flight.
That's another thing. The U.S. Marshals, they can do their own investigations too. It could be a marshal on that flight sent the message, "Hey, I saw him board the plane. We're go."
Yeah,
Target is on the plane.
I don't think many people realize how powerful in terms of law enforcement and being able to do what they have to do, the U.S. Marshals and the Secret Service really are. It's my understanding the U.S. Marshals are the highest ranking law authority in the country. They can do whatever the hell they want, basically. Of course, within the confines of the law. But there's nobody that's going to tell the U.S. Marshals they can't go here, can't do this. Insofar as investigations are trying to find a fugitive, nobody's going to stop the U.S. Marshals. Same pretty much goes for the Secret Service. So the fact that the Secret Service was involved in this with all the other connections Joe pointed out, absolutely something big happened on that plane that we're not privy to just yet. Hopefully we will be one day. That is, that's going to bring us to the meme of the week or the memer of the week. And we got a fan favorite this week, folks. So let's go ahead and get to it.
All right. So, the feature memer of the week is at Sir William Scott, and as he puts right there in his handle, at We the Media. So absolute Just Human and myself, we've known Sir William Scott for many years, and he does absolutely fantastic work. And he's a hell of a dude, and he sits across the pond, and we don't hold that against him. But we're going to get to how he mixes his meme work with humor and how he makes his points. And it's just unbelievably fantastic. You know, before I jump in, you got anything to kick us off with, Absolute, before I jump in?
I just can't stop giggling looking at this one, man. Of course, those who are watching are aware of the stuff Fauci did to dogs, and so I just can't stop laughing at Sir William's take on it, man. His memes are amongst my very favorite. The dude is absolutely hysterical. I'm just going to shut up because I'm looking forward to getting into his work here. So let's go ahead and have a look.
Oh, so what he did here is, this was the FBI raid on Trump's Mar-a-Lago, but he changed the papers all to things that we've seen pictures from Biden's laptop. So look how different that looks, right? What do you think there, Absolute?
I got nothing but laughter on that one, man. That's great. And being a dude who does video editing and memeing myself, although I don't get to the memes as much as I used to or as much as I would like to anymore, some work went into that one, man. And it's absolutely brilliant. I love it. I absolutely love it. Kyle, what do you think?
Oh, it's beautiful. And I think this is what the Patriots intended when they originally staged this photo from the raid, with papers on the ground like this, with all this blank space. They knew what memers were going to do. They knew this would happen. They did this on purpose. They took this picture for people like William Scott. God bless him. This is awesome.
And then over on the right, the State of the Union, we got Biden. He didn't really have to add too much. That's pretty much what it looked like. It looked like Biden raised from hell. Doing the State of the Union looked like some weird Hitler meets, I don't know, the devil incarnated. Who the hell knows what Biden was doing there? But what's your take there, Absolute, on what we see on the right, and who is that popping up from the middle there? I'm not familiar.
That's good old Sam Smith, our satanic ritual giving buddy from the Grammys. Same dude who wore that ridiculous hot air balloon looking outfit at that one awards show too. And he's pretty open about being a Satanist. He's not really shy about it. He's gay as well, so he's got that working for him, which is nice, I guess. So William Scott, just that ritual-esque performance at the Grammys, just decided, and he didn't. I'm telling you right now, William Scott didn't alter the color on that Sam Smith stuff. It just so had like that. Actually, it's brilliant in a meme because it's showing you the same kind of visual effects these people go for. It's literally the same lighting was at Biden's address that was at Sam Smith. And I know that red is a popular color, and red in and of itself, there's nothing wrong with the color red at all. But the context in which these folks use it and what they're trying to achieve with it is where the problem is. And William Scott just, he's got a gift for doing that with his memes. Like, yes, they're funny as hell, but there's always something a little more going on with them, like that one on the right. I absolutely love that one on the right. Is probably heard me giggling the entire way through you talking about it. Kyle, what do you think about that one, buddy?
That whole event was a meme. That whole event, that whole speech by Biden was just this meme template for all of us to work with. It's crazy. It's one of the most bizarre incidents of his entire presidency, and asterisk presidency, and marrying it to this right here from the grant. It's just beautiful. It's just the perfect marriage of those two things.
100% agreed.
So going around the horn here, we have the famous meme where the upper left, where it's got the little girl looking with that smirk on her face that somebody put together with the house burning down, and he conveniently switched out the beautiful Trump smirk there for the little girl, and then put in CNN burning down. So that was brilliant. And then he's got the firing of the red pill, and I kind of threw it in my artistic ability that I have that made it look like that Trump is launching the red pill over to Musk for Musk to go ahead and insert to the 142 million followers that he has.
I love it. I absolutely love it.
On the board here,
Kyle, you go ahead and go first on this one, my friend.
I just love Trump's smile. That smile on the top left. That's one of my favorite things that Trump does. That smirk. It's just
right.
says so much. It's just, I love it. But if I had to, yeah, that one's my favorite out of these three. It just makes me giggle.
I agree, man. That's my favorite out of the three too, and I agree about the smirk as well. That it's if there was ever a smirk that says "Gotcha, bitch," it's that right there. Like, love it. And I love the Elon one on the right too, and I love all three of these. But the top left one with CNN burning in the background and Trump just smirking. That's it for me on this set. What about you, Joe?
Yeah, man, I think they're all fantastic, and he did a great job here. And I use that Trumpy smirk whenever I can make a meme myself. That's the one I grab for Trump memes. I love that picture of him.
Love it.
Yeah, this one's difficult to get through, but I'll put on my professional self here. So he's got Fetterman, and Fetterman has that extra Fetterman on the side of himself, but Sir William went ahead and made it Madonna's weird face coming through the extra Fetterman, if you will. So he's got the talent to mix a few different things, as we saw with Biden in the Emmys or whatever the heck that was before, with the award show. I don't know what the heck these guys do, but so he's got Madonna coming out of Fetterman. So God bless Will with that. And then Big Mike is growing an extra leg. Somehow my Michelle has got a third leg somehow. I don't know what he means by that. A three-legged race. I'm not real sure what we're trying to point to there. But what comes up on your end there, Absolute?
I'm absolutely dead, dude. That meme on the right, I can't. I just can't. That might be the best one we've showed yet, or at least the funniest. Like, I'm literally over here crying, man. Oh man, Kyle.
I got nothing, man. I'm wiping tears too.
That is just fantastic. Good old Big Mike over there with a third leg. My God. Not all heroes wear capes, man. Chef's kiss. 100% chef's kiss.
So we're gonna roll through these videos, but just on a high level, he's got the Durham video, the Truth Social logo in the middle there, in the top middle is something him and I. That Truth Social is going to vacuum up Twitter, and we came together, and he put together his fantastic this video about that. These are all short videos that Absolute put together. You'll see what comes out of the cheese head in the upper right, and then on the bottom left, you'll see what happens with at the end of Trump's golf swing. The center middle is Trump at a town hall, and he's asked about QAnon and what kind of response he gives to that. And then there was that Tucker scene here where he gets slapped on the bottom right, and good old Will just going back to that three-legged meme comes full circle, if you will, with that bottom right, and you'll see what we mean when we play Absolute's compilation video that he put together, if you will.
Not even going to say anything about that one on the bottom right because I don't want to ruin it. Here we go, friends. Enjoy.
Big bad wolf. The 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 big bad wolf.
Oh, nice. Good shot. Good shot. Right.
Tell you what I do hear about it is they are very strongly against pedophilia, and I agree with that. I mean, I do agree with that, and I agree with it.
But there's not
very
a
strongly.
satanic pedophile
I have
cult
no
being run
idea.
by.
I know
You
nothing
don't
about
know that? Okay.
No, I don't know
you
that.
Just
and
this
neither
week.
do you know that.
Okay, just this week
why,
you
why
retweeted.
aren't you asking me about Antifa? Why aren't you asking me about the radical left?
Because you're
why
volunteering
aren't you
it.
asking Joe Biden questions about why doesn't he condemn Antifa? Why does he say it doesn't?
here crying, man. Sir William. that last one with Big Mike, dude, absolutely killed me dead. Well done, Sir William Scott. If you're not following him over on True Social, it's at Sir William Scott. You are missing out. The dude's memes are just top class, top shelf the whole way through, man. Gentlemen, anything else to add on to that before we move on to the review?
I don't think we should add on anything else to that. I think it's long enough. So, great job putting it all together there, Absolute. Sir William, shout out from across the pond, brother.
100%, man. Great job. Do we appreciate your work and appreciate you, my friend. And that is now going to move us on into the Q review section, folks. Oops, wrong video. Anyway, it doesn't deter from the drops. We're going through 256 through 265 tonight, friends. And they're pretty not too deep or complex this evening. 256, 4th of November, 2017, dates 25, 27, 28, Stringer, Red, Asia. Analyze the connection, learn to read the map. We went over that last week with the Red Foundation that deals with helping to defeat AIDS. We talked about how Obama was traveling in the same areas as Trump in Asia. And how he was seemingly trying to subvert the work that Trump was doing over there. And that's what Q's getting at with this drop. Joe, you got anything else to add on this one?
No, those dates and such we're hitting those events in Asia.
Kyle, what about you, my friend?
Nothing to add.
Moving on to 257, Q simply reposting in and on. This drop was also on the 4th of December, 2017. And this is basically what I was just talking about. And Q resharing this post says, Q pointed out the picture on the red.org site with a Korean woman pointing to meet me in Seoul. Oh, bummer goes to China. Did he go to Seoul too? Yes, he did. Turns out. Moving on to drop number 258, which is again talking about the same thing. That's why I moved on so quickly. Also December 4th of 2017, Q is replying to an anon here. The anon says South Korea calls North Korea daily. The ministry has to keep pestering Pyongyang over the military and Red Cross talks, he said. It has to keep placing calls on the Panmunjom telephone. The situation can quickly change and North Korea could feel the need for dialogue. When they do return, they will likely want to deal with the United States first, but let them try to accomplish anything in talks with Washington without the involvement of Seoul. It won't work. Q replies and says, Red Cross, red, North Korea, Hussein, Asia. Why was that stringer sent out? Decode, news unlocks message, future proves past. Where is the Red Cross? Runs deep, children pray. Q. My take from this one, Joe, and Kyle as well, is that this is where Q is kind of starting to get into how deep and dark the Red Cross actually is, and what they're actually up to in some of these countries. And I've got some slides coming up to accompany this that will better explain it. And right here, the International Committee of the Red Cross is a humanitarian organization based in Geneva, Switzerland, and is a 3-time Nobel Peace Prize laureate. State parties, signatories to the Geneva Convention of 1949 and its additional protocols of 1977, Protocol 1 and Protocol 2, and 2005, have given the ICRC a mandate to protect victims of international and internal armed conflicts. Such victims include war-wounded persons, prisoners, refugees, civilians, and other non-combatants. The ICRC is a part of the International Red Cross and Red Crescent movement, along with the International Federation of Red Cross and Red Crescent Societies, and 192 national societies. It is the oldest and most honored organization within the movement and one of the most widely recognized organizations in the world, having won 3 Nobel Peace Prizes in 1977, 44, and 63. I won't read this whole thing here, just the top 2 parts, particularly the highlighted part, but at the very top it says the ICRC is the only institution explicitly named in international humanitarian law as a controlling authority. Keep that one in mind. It's pretty important. The legal mandate of the ICRC stems from the 4 Geneva Conventions of 49, as well as its own statutes. The ICRC also undertakes tasks that are not specifically mandated by law, such as visiting political prisoners outside of conflict and providing relief in natural disasters. The ICRC is a private Swiss association that has enjoyed various degrees of special privileges and legal immunities within the territory of Switzerland for many years. On 19th March 1993, a legal foundation for this special treatment was created by a formal agreement between the Swiss government and the ICRC. This agreement protects the full sanctity of all ICRC property in Switzerland, including its headquarters and archive, grants members and staff legal immunity, exempts the ICRC from all taxes and fees, guarantees protected and duty-free transfer of goods, services, and money, provides the ICRC with secure communication privileges at the same level as foreign embassies, and simplifies committee travel in and out of Switzerland. On the other hand, Switzerland does not recognize ICRC issue password. Tell me you're a deep state slush fund organization without telling me you're a deep state slush fund organization that peddles in children. They're literally immune from whatever they do in Switzerland, and that apply Switzerland, the way that stuff works. Switzerland is pretty lax about extraditions and stuff like that, and they're pretty lax about prosecuting people within their own borders if they're committing crimes elsewhere, unless that crime is also a crime in Switzerland. And as this law in Switzerland says, there's basically no crime that the ICRC can commit in Switzerland that they would ever be prosecuted for or worried about having come up on them, which is fairly interesting. And it's really interesting that Q was pointing toward that too. Before I move on, do you guys have any further takes on that?
No. How interesting is this one coming up here?
Right. And I was going to point out this, folks, you've been watching the show for a while, this is not the first time this has happened. This kind of stuff happens all the time, whether it be in Joe's current comms or the review. We'll frequently circle back to something that's current in the news. And this one is especially crazy. 2:59, 5th of November, 2017, Q says red 9/11 funds raised versus distributed. Oversight, 7 of 10 plane crashes are targeted kills. Those in the know never sleep. Q. This is one of my, I won't say one of my favorite drops, but it's one I've always kind of kept in mind, particularly the those in the know never sleep. I think a lot of us in this movement know exactly what that's about. And there's stuff that we don't know that some of these, guys behind the curtains that actually rescue children and take these people down. We think we don't sleep. I bet those guys legit never sleep. Q alluding toward 7 of 10 plane crashes are actually targeted kills. Planes don't crash often, folks, and more often than not, when they do, there's a good chance you're going to find somebody on that plane. There was a reason for them to be gone. There was a lot of rumors back in the day when MH370 disappeared that there were 4 patent holders for semiconductors on that airplane. So that would be an instance of what Q was talking about. And of course, the red 9/11, he's talking about the Red Cross and their dealings with 9/11, which we're going to get into here in just a second. And here it is. And let me make this a little bit bigger for you, friends. The Red Cross coming home to roost. Remember 9/11, anyone? Americans have a short and forgiving historical memory. Most can remember last year's Super Bowl champs and World Series winners, and few seem able to remember a $1 billion scandal involving the American Red Cross following 9/11, America's most disastrous terrorist or military attack on its homeland. The details are brief. The Red Cross responded to 9/11 by opening a few shelters to which no one came, tried to trace missing persons, but were pushed aside when the World Trade Center site was dubbed a crime scene and police and FBI took over identification of missing persons, and served coffee and donuts to rescue workers at the World Trade Center site, only to be accused of charging for them. It later paid Danny Bully, New York star chef, to cook for them after the news about charging for coffee was made public. I like how they did something nice only after something exceptionally shitty was made public first. The Red Cross's own 9/11 Liberty Fund indeed shows only $336,000 in U.S. or state government reimbursement for what little it did do as a first responder, a designation equal to police, fire, and emergency medical service personnel. Jogging your memory a bit, Red Cross was the flavor of the month following 9/11. Celebrities, corporations, and foundations wrote million-dollar checks and performed or sponsored TV and live events ad infinitum. Ad campaigns were rewritten as Red Cross appeals. Media outlets pushed their name across the airwaves and online. FEMA did not put out a preferred list of agencies helping 9/11 victims, thus precluding groups like Pat Robertson's Operation Blessing and Reverend Larry Jones' Feed the Children from infiltrating legitimate lists of agencies is now being done via the White House's faith-based initiatives office. New York's own charities and foundations were given equal space on how to help lists, and Red Cross's $1 billion was just under half of all funds given to help families of 9/11 victims. Those foundations wisely made grants to a host of small community-based programs or directly to victims' families. The Red Cross did no such thing, at least not immediately. So Q, pointing toward the Red Cross, brought in $1 billion after 9/11 and seemingly did nothing with it to help people, which is, it goes to Haiti too. The Red Cross has a track record of doing the same thing in Haiti. And so, like I just said in the prior drop, tell me you're a slush foundation corporation without telling me that you're a slushy corporation. Like, it's clearly obvious that the Red Cross is kind of in on helping these folks. Kyle, Joe, anything to add about the Red Cross or Q beginning to shine the laser on the Red Cross at this point before I move on?
It's a swamp. the swamp exists in every industry, including charities. So this is a very swampy charity.
100%. And then, of course, here we got, Truss Grassley. We're all familiar with Truss Grassley at this point. God knows Joe and I went over it a ton of times in this show. I'm not going to read this whole thing here, but here in 2017, nifty year that, right? Grassley Thompson introduced American Red Cross Transparency Act of 2017. Senator Chuck Grassley and Representative Benny Thompson today introduced legislation to give the congressional watchdog arm complete access to the American Red Cross records for oversight purposes. The bipartisan, bicameral, there you go, Kyle, just throwing that one in there. I honestly didn't realize that word was in there until just now. The bipartisan, bicameral American Red Cross Transparency Act of 2017 responds to concerns that the Red Cross tried to quash a review by the Government Accountability Office of its practices, successfully limiting the scope of the review. It has failed to be as transparent as it should be. So Grassley here doing more patriot shit, trying to get the American Red Cross under watch and lock and key, so to speak. He knew they were up to no good, and he's trying to take care of it right here. I do not know off the top of my head if that bill passed. I will try to find that out and let you folks know. Kyle, Joe, anything to add on?
No, it's interesting to see Benny Thompson in a favorable light after going through the J6 committee and viewing him as in a very negative way. It's interesting to see him and Grassley working together. I'll look this act up for you real quick.
Thank you, sir. And moving on with this, look, we've got more plane stuff. Zero Hedge over here on the right, the Boeing 737-800 was traveling from the southwestern city of Kunming to the southern metropolis of Gwangju, was at a cruising altitude on Monday before nosediving at 14:20 local time, according to flight tracking data. So Q in that drop said 7 of 10 accidents are targeted kills. And over here on the left side, you see the nosedive straight down from the airplane. That's usually not normal for airplanes either. The Daily Caller headline says Eric Swalwell again dodges questions about contacts with Chinese spy. Eric Swalwell on Monday dodged questions about the extent of his contacts with Christine Fang, also known as Fang Fang. You go to the third paragraph in the Zero Hedge article. Meanwhile, details about the people who were lost in the crash have started to emerge. Dinglong Culture Company, a Shenzhen-listed firm based in Guangzhou, whose businesses include titanium ore mining and entertainment, said that its chief financial officer, a woman named Fang Fang, was on the flight. So it's very possible that she was being silent so that she wouldn't say what was going on with Mr. Fartswell. Q again pointing to this, and Anon's put this one together. Joe, what's your take on this one real quick before I move on, buddy?
Well, I was surprised to see Michelle Obama made an appearance in this one with Dinglong culture there. That's weird, but no, just the plane stuff coming back around time and time again. It's so weird.
Absolutely, man. It's just crazy that it's circled around like this. Kyle, you got any thoughts on this one, buddy?
Not necessarily. I'm not sure exactly what I think about Swalwell and Fang Fang. I'm not sure who caught who is what I'm thinking. I don't know. I think there's a lot of fake news about that story, and I'm not so unsure that Swalwell wasn't targeted by a CCP spy and ended up actually cooperating a bit with a sting op to take her out. Not saying he's innocent, but there's some interesting things in the ethics report, and then him not being held accountable for it makes me think that he may have been approached by security and been like, "Hey, you're getting too close to an actual spy. Help us catch her." And he's having to live with the shame of having associated with her, but he still helped out, which would explain why he wasn't held accountable for it. I looked up the bill. The bill died in 2017 for the Red Cross thing. It died in Congress in 2017. It was reintroduced, though, in 2019. It still didn't make it. But, yeah.
Interesting that it was on the radar, at least. Moving on to 260, and this one in the next slide are about as simple as it gets that Patriots are kind of in control. Drop 260, 5th of December, 2017. Who knows where the bodies are buried? Flynn is safe. We protect our Patriots. Q. Moving on. President Trump pardons General Flynn. Pretty obvious that Patriots are safe. This is basically what Q was getting to, that we had nothing to worry about with Flynn. We could go on about Flynn's case and what happened there for another hour or two, but we'll spare everybody that. But this was definitely a sign from Trump that Patriots are protected. And this is, to me, every time I see the Flynn haters come up and the folks calling Flynn a black hat, this trumps that argument pun intended. There's nothing you can say after this. If Michael Flynn was deep state and Donald Trump is a good guy, as most of you believe, then this would have been Donald Trump's chance to put away a very big deep state asset, right? Why do you let him walk? There you go. Reconcile that. If Flynn is a black hat and Trump pardoned him, that means Trump is a black hat, neither of which I even come remotely close to believing or entertaining at this point. So unless you gentlemen have anything else to add on to this one, I'm going to go ahead and move on.
Just that, their operation in 2016 was Crossfire Hurricane, and the Q movement is, the calm before the storm. Those two things are correlated. Q let us know that transparency brings accountability, and that's why they call the storm, the calm before the storm was pointing to this Crossfire Hurricane investigation in 2016.
Yeah, there was also Crossfire Typhoon.
Oh, really?
And it's Crossfire Razor, Crossfire Typhoon, Crossfire Hurricane, and Crossfire something else are the ones we know of. Anyway, but it's always stood out to me that there was a typhoon as well. And
Asian
I don't know.
flare.
I feel like there's something to that.
It's almost like the whole where we go one, we go all Great Awakening worldwide thing. Like we had Crossfire Hurricane and Typhoon covering both sides of the globe with a storm. That's pretty
Yeah.
crazy, man. I didn't know about Crossfire Typhoon until literally 45 seconds ago. That's pretty crazy, man. Moving on to 261, 5th of November 2017. Red Haiti, children, money. Since POTUS elected, what changed with Red? Since POTUS elected, what changed with the Clinton Foundation? Since POTUS elected, what changed with Mick? What do either one of you know what that one is, Joe?
I think it was the McCain Foundation, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, good call. These people deserve ... So I have a short video I'm going to play for this one, touching up on the Haiti stuff, which is what Q's pointing towards in this drop. So let's have a look, friends.
These are some of the 33 Haitian children an American Baptist group allegedly tried to unlawfully take out of the country on Saturday. Orphans and abandoned children, victims of the earthquake, some as young as 2 months old. The Haitian authorities stopped the bus they were on as they were about to cross into neighboring Dominican Republic. With them were 10 Americans. They are now in police custody. And they reportedly say they were planning to set up an orphanage for the children in the Dominican Republic.
Our understanding was that we were told by a number of people, including Dominican authorities, that we would be able to bring the children across. I understand that. Sir, that's the mistake obviously we made, is we did not understand that there was additional paperwork required.
The group insists this was an act of charity, not profit, with the consent of the children's families.
I saw that family members were giving them away because the parents were dead, and the family members couldn't support them, so the families were giving their children up so they could be cared for and to study.
The earthquake has left tens of thousands of children homeless. And the chaos it brought makes Haiti ripe for human trafficking. That's why the government imposed tight restrictions on adoption earlier this month. Restrictions it says the American group has violated. Zaina Awad, Al Jazeera.
As the 10 American missionaries arrived in court in Port-au-Prince on Thursday, they believed that they would soon be set free.
We expect that God's will be done. We will be released. We are looking forward to what God is going to do.
But a Haitian prosecutor decided the accusations against them were serious enough to build a criminal case. He charged them with child kidnapping and criminal association for trying to take 33 children out of the country without the required documentation. The decision came somewhat as a surprise. Haitian officials had floated the idea of sending the missionaries back to the U.S. for fear of overburdening Haiti's crippled judicial system. Now, however, the case is in the hands of an investigative judge based in this building right here behind me. The missionaries are from an Idaho-based Baptist church. Police arrested them last week on Haiti's border with the Dominican Republic as they tried to cross with a busload of children. The missionaries say they were bringing orphaned and abandoned victims of the earthquake to a better life in the Dominican Republic.
The entire team deeply fell in love with these children. They're very, very precious kids that have lost their homes and their families and are so deeply in need of, most of all, God's love and His compassion and just a very nurturing setting.
thousands of children were orphaned in the earthquake, raising concerns about the possibility of child trafficking. The Haitian government says this is what the missionaries were doing. UNICEF's executive director doesn't call it child trafficking, but she says whatever the missionaries intended to do, they went about it the wrong way.
If children are going to be taken out of the country, they need to have proper documentation and have been through the process properly for adoption and for removal from the country.
Haitian officials say many of the children still have parents, but some of the children may have been handed over voluntarily. Craig Morrow, Al Jazeera, Port-au-Prince, Haiti.
So now before we talk about the video, the next part of this, I'll just read the headline in the first paragraph there. Haiti orphanages hotspot of child trafficking abuse, says charity. Bogota, children living in hundreds of orphanages in Haiti suffer sexual and physical abuse, and some are trafficked into orphanages for profit, according to a charity founded by Harry Potter author J.K. Rowling. So Q shining a very big flashlight on what was going on in Haiti. And in addition to the child trafficking stuff, the Clinton Foundation, when they paired with Haiti, and this same stuff happened after Katrina, by the way, they were providing these like shelters and trailers for people. It turns out the shelters were like had formaldehyde all over them, like laced with them, like in the floor products, which is interesting because you went over the Q drop earlier talking about babies crawling on the floor and touching their mouth. And one of the things from Haiti and New Orleans after Katrina was these trailers that people were provided with were making people sick, especially children. So it's just, it goes to show what these people are really about. And curious to hear what either you gentlemen would have to say about this.
It's just heartbreaking. I don't know
Yeah.
what else to say other than it's just heartbreaking. And Haiti is one of those countries that continually is abused by others and taken advantage of.
Right. And Q,
it's been happening for hundreds of years with Haiti.
Absolutely. And Q pointed towards, the Democrats, how they've used the black population. If the black population really knew what some of these, like the Clintons, the Clinton Foundation were doing in Haiti, their support for those kind of folks would stop really quick. And that's kind of what Q was getting to. Drop 262, Red Stringer 25th, Hussein Red Video 27th, Response, Hussein in Asia on 28th, Post Stringer, Analyze, Coincidence, More than one meeting, Hussein Red Indictments, Variables, Think Circle, Expand Your Thinking, Take Multiple Paths, One Connects to Another, Learn to Read the Map is the key, Find the Keystone, What Holds Everything Together, Q. Any takes on this one, Joe?
No, I mean, we touched on the red stringers and things of that nature, and it's kind of funny. Some of those are woven into the queue with the Red Castle was, I mean, the Castle Rock stuff that we hit on is some of those stringers. So everything kind of comes together on this show for some reason or another. Multiple paths connect to each other, and that's what we do is we read the map and show the connections as much as we can. The Keystone, could be the Keystone State, Pennsylvania. It also has been talked about as Epstein Island had the Keystone as part of its entryway. So we'll have to see what comes about.
Definitely. Going on here, this is talking about how Red, the company that Q has been shining a light on. Look at this. They partner with Nickelodeon. Now think of how many, it's been at least 2 or 3 people from Nickelodeon that were busted for child sex stuff and child abuse. And here you've got Red pairing with Nickelodeon. And to date, Red has generated more than $465 million for the Global Fund to fight AIDS. Apparently this Q and review section is a slush fund section because that's, again, exactly what this place is. And that's what Q was pointing toward with that drop. Even pointing toward the fact that, Joe, you talked about the mix / was McCain. You were absolutely right. Exclusive Soros Clinton linked Tenio among donors to the McCain Institute, and Tenio is tied to George Soros. So George Soros was basically donating to McCain and the McCain Institute. So Q, again, shining light toward that. And that's why, Q always called him No Name, because dude was the highest of high traders. And I'm really looking forward to getting to the Dog Day Afternoon Q proof when we eventually get to that one, because it is a banger. And I still can't find anybody to give me a logical reason that John McCain's flag was wrinkled to shit on his coffin when he was laying in state. you can argue till the dogs come home, folks. That's not normal. That's not something the military or a government institution would do towards somebody they respect. Go back and look at dozens of state funerals over the years. You're not going to find very, very many at all, if any, wrinkled flags. Yet his flag looked like it was crumpled up, shoved in a drawer, and left there for a couple years before it was put on the coffin. And that, to me, huge sign of what he really was and what was thought of him. And that's me and Joe have talked about it before. You know, a lot of people out there kind of clamoring for these like public shows of justice, you know, take him to the square and do this and that. It's not going to go down like that, because it would, number one, evoke such a visceral reaction from people that society could very well crater after seeing all that. It's going to go the way you saw with McCain. Oh, look, he's sick. Oh, he passed away from this sickness. No, I don't believe he passed away from a sickness at all. I'm trying to remember who it was that had that Freudian slip on Fox one night where he said, you know, after they put McCain to death or something like that, and then he backtracked and corrected what he said real quick, like it was a legit Freudian slip, alluding to the fact that McCain was executed and didn't pass away naturally or of any kind of disease. And so that's why Q doesn't mention his name. Did I miss anything there, fellas?
I mean, well, his own daughter said, "You can't kill my father again."
Is that Kasich or whatever in Ohio?
That was it. Thank you, Joe. Yeah. Thank you. 263, just Q kind of taunting the Rothschilds a little bit more. Fly, Ross, fly, with the 2 plus symbols. Of course, the 2 pluses signify the Rothschild family. Q stays at them fairly often, folks. So that's basically what this is. Just another shot across the bow of the Rothschilds. Any further takes on that one, guys? 264, 5th of November, 2017. Pretty simple. God bless Patriots. We are proud. Q. Me and Joe have pointed out before, sometimes Q gets snarky with the nons when we kind of drop the ball or the board would get messy or we miss things. He also did stuff like this fairly frequently, as well as queuing people and keeping morale and general attitude up. And this was one of those times where Anons came together on the board and put all that stuff together with red and you know, put it together really well from that stringer. And so Q was just kind of patting everybody on the back here. Move on to 265, 5th of November, 2017. This is our last drop for the evening, friends. I'm really glad we had a guest on tonight, and I chose to only do 10 drops instead of the usual 15 to 20, because we would just be screwed if I did that. Says, bye-bye, Johnny. Update the list. Watch the news. War. Q referring to the fact that John Conyers is retiring amid sexual misconduct allegations. Multiple former female staffers have accused the congressman of inappropriate touching and propositioning them for sex. So Q pointing to that, and Q basically telling you right here, this dude wasn't retiring. This dude got busted and he was made to step down. It was last week or the week before, Joey went over the whole list of Democrat related people who were under either investigations or indictments or so forth and so on for specifically sexual misconduct related crimes. So again, Q was shining the light on that for everybody. It's just remarkable to me, all the stuff that was exposed through him, that you go back and look through this lens now, and it's like, my God, we really did have more than we knew at the time. And it stands true today. We still have more than we know. But every day this stuff's kind of being unveiled to us a little bit more. Anything else to add, gentlemen?
No, man.
So as usual, when we end the review, man, I like to give our buddy Sean a nice little shout out, man. He helps with the Q review, kind of helps behind the scenes with the show. He's an awesome dude, one of my favorite Patriots out there. You can follow him on Substack at patriotsinprogress.substack.com, or you can follow him on Truth Social as well at Patriots in Progress. You can also follow him on Twitter at Patriots in Progress. He has his Substack is fantastic. He does really deep dives into the Q drops, and he's a big Bitcoin guy. He's exceptionally intelligent when it comes to that, and he really is just absolutely one of the nicest people you're ever going to meet. He's one of my favorite folks in the movement. Got to spend some time with him in Arizona. He's just a lovely dude. So thank you, Sean. If you're out there watching right now, or if you're crashed, I'm sure you'll see it tomorrow at some point. Thank you so much for your help, buddy. And before we wrap this thing up, we got a couple rants I'm going to get to. We got Chewy26, Defected 2.0. I love it. 3 hours and running. Run it up, boys. Thanks for all you do. We are now closing in on 4 hours, which is by far our longest episode ever. And I'm convinced that Kyle wanted to stay on the whole show just so we could get into discussion and he could be on the longest episode of Eye of the Storm ever and not John. I'm pretty sure that's why Kyle did that. We got Chewy26 again. By the way, Just Human, the analysis you're doing on the Durham report is phenomenal. I'm only in part 3 right now. A little behind, but excellent work. Seconded, man. second it, buddy. You do great work on that stuff, man. And we got Rico6, excellent show. Kudos. Alt Media rocks. Again, a salute and big kudos. Thank you again, my friend. That's your second or third rant tonight. We really appreciate it. We appreciate all the support. I look and it's crazy to me. We've been on the air since 10:30 Eastern time, and we still have over 11,000 live viewers right now. It just blows my mind. It's really humbling to see that, and it's that kind of support that keeps us, up till 2 a.m. doing this stuff. Like, we just love doing this, man, for you guys. You guys are absolutely awesome and keep us going. And before I wrap this thing up for the evening, I want to give you guys a closing word, kind of what you think, or, whatever you want to say to close the show. Joe, we'll start with you, buddy.
Well, it's been a pleasure having Just Human on. Just another example of the kind of talent that we've put together at Badlands, where Absolute and I are humbled and proud to be a part of it. But we got a great collection of folks. We'll bring on other guests from other parts of Badlands onto the show as we keep going here down the river. And hopefully Absolute and I will have some coming news about different things that we're planning on doing with this show. So keep your fingers crossed. But just keep the faith. As you can see throughout these comms, there's a method to the madness. There's a 40,000-foot view. We are on the right track. We are on the right side of history. And just know at the end, God wins. And, I just feel lucky. I just feel absolutely humbled and just blessed to be able to sit in front of you guys. We've gone over 100,000 views 4 months in a row. I'm sure this will be our 17th straight week of doing that. And we're just looking forward to bigger and better things going into the future. What we talked about, taking down the MSN. That's really what this channel is looking to do, is bring you straight truth. Be here as an extension of you guys. We feed off of each other, and I couldn't be more proud to see you guys in my comments, messages that I get, the prayers that I get. Around the world now, Truth Social opened up. People from around the world are getting a chance to get on Truth Social. So keep those flags out. Keep coming on, and just love y'all.
Well said, man. Kyle, what about you, my friend? Where can our friends find you, and what do you have to say to close out the show?
Well, if you guys want to find me, I'm on Telegram. I'm on Truth Social. I'm on Twitter. You can just search Just Human. You'll find me on Twitter. It's real Just Human. But some guy from Bahrain has the actual Just Human. I'm waiting for Elon to take care of it because that guy hasn't posted since like 2013. Come on, Elon. I want Just Human. I just want that tag. Anyway, I'm on all those places if you guys want to follow me for some reason. But what I really want to say is thank you to Joe and Paul for having me on. I love this show. I'm a fan of this show and a fan of these guys' work. And it's a privilege to be here on this show. I really enjoyed it. I laughed till I cried. And I've gotten a lot out of it. I've learned a few things tonight. And most of all, I want to thank the audience, because like they said, we would not be able to do this stuff and feel compelled to do it over and over again, put our work out, share our thoughts and our comments and our analysis on things, if it wasn't for all you in the audience who encourage us to do those things and support what we do. I know for me, I pinch myself all the time. I cannot believe that there are so many people that are interested in what I do, what other hosts at Badlands do. This audience and this community are an amazing blessing to all of us, and we don't take it for granted. So thank you all, and please stay positive. As I end my show by saying this: remember, we're not going to win every battle, but we are going to win this war. And that's what you have to focus on. Just focus on if we lose a battle, focus on the next one that we can win. Keep marching forward. This is not a quick trip. We're trying to take down the biggest criminal syndicate in the history of the world. It's going to take a little time. And it's going to take a little work. So stick with it. God bless each and every one of you. And thank you so much.
Well said, man. It's eerily similar to how I usually sign off the shows, a little note of positivity. And, remember, folks, I always say it, always keep moving forward. If it's an inch at a time, forward progress is forward progress. And remember that God wins. And don't be afraid to talk to the big guy. Ask him for a little help. Ask him for some protection. Ask him for some guidance, some wisdom, some patience. Ask him for understanding. it's just he's always there beside you, even when you feel like he's not. He's always going to have your back and always hold you up, even in the roughest times. I'm living proof of that. So don't ever give up. I know things can seem dark and hopeless and bleak at times, but you got to remember the only reason that so much evil and darkness is in our face all the time right now is because it's being exposed and brought to the surface so that it can be dealt with, and so that we can be done with it. And so that's not a quick fix kind of thing where, oh, we took care of it and 2 years down the road, it's right back. Kyle nailed it. These people have been in control for thousands of years, and they're not just going to say, hey, you caught me, we're going to go quietly into the wind now. They're going to give us everything we got. But I know that we are all strong enough to handle it. A couple weeks ago, actually, it was this past Sunday. I think some of you may have caught me kind of boom myself live on air because I was talking about the American spirit. Always, I keep saying, I've said it plenty of times, wait till the American spirit shows up, watch what's going to happen. And then it dawned on me, the American spirit is exactly why America hasn't fallen yet. We've all kept fighting. We've got people out there that withstood the largest psyop in history with this vaccine and COVID. We've got people out there that didn't bow to any of it. That's the American spirit, friends, and we're seeing it right now. It's not dead. It's reviving itself, and just wait till you see what happens when it's fully up and running, and the people that just wanted to be left alone start waking up and speaking their piece. And I firmly believe we're approaching that. So yeah, friends, keep your hope and keep your faith, and wear your armor of God, and remember that God wins. Having said that, speaking of God wins and wearing your armor, I've got a video here. If there's some Iron Maiden fans out there, I think you're going to love this one. I said it. It's a tribute to D-Day and World War II and the Greatest Generation. I said it to The Longest Day by Iron Maiden. One of my favorite songs of theirs and one of my favorite videos that I've made. Me and Kyle are both kind of war nerds, so I think it's completely awesome that it lined up that he's on the show on D-Day the way it worked out. So I'm going to go ahead and roll this video. Say to you folks, thank you again so much for the love and support. We're still over 11,000 watching live. So please, if you can hear us, go down there and smash that like button for us. You guys helped us get into the top 10 on the leaderboards last week. Let's see if we can't get up in there to the top 5 this week. Give those defected guys a little bit of a run for their money, right? So in closing, thank you guys very much for joining us tonight. We hope you have a wonderfully blessed and peaceful week, and we will see you again next week. Good night, friends.
The only thing we have to fear is fear itself. Nameless, unreasoning, unjustified terror, which paralyzes needed efforts to convert retreat into advance.
In the blue, the gathering storm abates, and the ships, gimlet eyes await, call to arms to hammer at the gates, to blow them wide, throw evil to its fate. All summer's long, the drills to build the machine, to turn men from flesh and blood to steel, from paper soldiers to bodies on the beach, from summer sand to Armageddon's reach. Overlord, your master, not your God, the enemy coast, gone engraved with death, these wretched souls, puking, shaking fear, to take a bullet for those who send them here. The walls are light, the cliffs erupting flame, no escape, remorseless shadow waves, drowning men, no chance for a warrior's wake, a choking dead.
soldiers, sailors, and airmen of the Allied Expeditionary Force. You are about to embark upon the great crusade toward which we have striven these many months. The eyes of the world are upon you. The hopes and prayers of liberty-loving people everywhere march with you. In company with our brave allies and brothers in arms on other fronts, you will bring about the destruction of the German war machine, the elimination of Nazi tyranny over the oppressed peoples of Europe, and security for ourselves in a free world. Your task will not be an easy one. Your enemy is well-trained, well-equipped, and battle-hardened. He will fight savagely. But this is the year 1944. Much has happened since the Nazi triumph of 1940-41. The United Nations have inflicted upon the Germans great defeat in open battle, man to man. Our air offensive has seriously reduced their strength in the air and their capacity to wage war on the ground. Our home fronts have given us an overwhelming superiority in weapons and munitions of war, and placed at our disposal great reserves of trained fighting men. The tide has turned. The free men of the world are marching together to victory. I have full confidence in your courage, devotion to duty, and skill in battle. We will accept nothing less than full victory. Good luck, and let us all beseech the blessing of Almighty God upon this great and noble undertaking.
Thank you so much for joining us, and don't forget to hit the thumbs up on this video. And a special thank you to all of our advertising partners. Please remember to shift your dollars to support those businesses that support Badlands Media. And if you're interested in advertising with Badlands yourself, reach out to Kitty Gillespie. Her email is ads.badlandsmedia@proton.me. That's ads.badlandsmedia@proton.me.